What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here on Tuesday night. It is Tuesday Night Titans, episode number 84 for your Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. I'm your host, JD, from New York. As always, joined by the one and only, the Solid Monster. What is going on, brother?
Just another Tuesday night, brother. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. 55 degrees where I am today. It was glorious.
Oh, it's nice. It's going to be nice actually the next few days, so I'm going to enjoy it.
That's great. You know what else is nice, man? Big Show really did team with Michelle McCool.
See, I don't believe it. I'm pretty sure it was AI. Everything these days is AI generated, so you're going to have to provide me a little more evidence than that.
Everybody had me pegged as wrong, man. Even you. I'm like, what's going on here? And usually when it comes to him and his history, I have to back away and say, you know, I'll take the L on that one. But it looks like I got a rare W in that case. It's unbelievable.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it was a 2K25 simulation. That's also possible. You know, the new game's coming out. I don't know, man. I don't know. But yes, Michelle McCool did team with the Big Show, fellas. It is just great. Once.
It's just once.
Just one time, though. It's just once. You made it sound like they were a permanent team, like it was the mixed match challenge or something.
I know. But listen, I got to take my W's when I get them. Speaking of W's, man, The Rock is back, and he has sent shockwaves through all of pro wrestling because he now, this year, instead of blowing shit up, he is deciding he's going to cosplay as Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat and just take souls wherever he feels like souls need to be taken. I don't know.
He's going to start carrying an urn to the ring with him.
I know. He should. Listen,
that was honestly one of the most bizarre segments I have ever seen on a wrestling show. And I've been watching wrestling for a very long time. One of the most bizarre segments I have ever seen.
It was pretty. I don't even know what to call it. It was weird. There was a lot of certain undertones to it. Whether it's I heard some people call him Illuminati Rock. There was a lot of sexual undertones to that from one man to another.
Weird.
Yeah,
It's instead of Hollywood Rock, we had Holly Weird Rock. That's what we had.
And I don't know. I mean, I've come up with this is going to be a fun discussion tonight because I've come up with my own kind of take on it. We talked about it on Monday. It's not really my own take, but it's kind of a mixture of everybody's take. But I feel like this is where it would fit best. So it's going to be great to see what Jason has to say about this because I have not. When it usually comes to what we do on Tuesday nights, I haven't listened to his Friday show and I haven't listened to his Monday show. So I don't know what he is feeling about where we're going with The Rock now back on TV and Cody Rhodes, this big looming decision happening on Saturday night at the Elimination Chamber. It's going to be a fun discussion tonight. We're going to definitely get into that. We're going to talk about some WrestleMania news and notes. We got some new rumors on matches potentially taking place. We have Hall of Fame news. We have AEW news. Tony Khan was in the news this week. Vince McMahon was in the news this week with a vicious rumor that got started. Nobody knows if it's true or not, but I think everybody is waiting to see what the man does next if he is a free man after his lawsuit is all finished up. But we'll definitely get into all that. It's going to be a big show tonight. I know everybody's watching NXT. The Hardys are on NXT tonight. They got Moose on NXT tonight. So Ricky Starks is wrestling tonight. So it's a big NXT. It's a big Tuesday night. And we appreciate you guys joining us here on episode 84. Right now, we're live on Twitch. We are live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. And we're live on X. So I've been doing the multi-stream thing. It has been very, very good so far. So hopefully you guys interact in whichever way you want. It's going to be a good night. Follow us on the YouTube side of things. Jason has his own channel. I have my own channel. Everything you need will be linked in the description below. Make sure you guys go and follow us on social media as well. Everything you need, again, is linked down below. And please make sure you get those super chats in. It's a great way to support what we do here. And thumbs up and comments are always appreciated because it helps get the podcast in the algorithm on YouTube. And we love being in the algorithm. But without any further ado, man, I'll leave it with you as always. Where you want to go? What do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you've got some notes there, so I'll let you take the lead. But I think we should probably start with the Vince McMahon stuff,
Yeah.
just to kind of get that out of the way, because I honestly don't think there's much to it. As far people are freaking out, about what this could possibly mean. So why don't we start there, and you can get into the details about how this all kind of came about this morning.
Yeah, so I was finishing up my stuff last night. It was actually on stream. I went live around 11 o'clock with the Monday Night Raw stream. So did Jason. And then I see this news article come across my X timeline, and it's from Eric Bischoff and Conrad Thompson on 83 Weeks. Apparently, Vince McMahon, according to them and whatever sources they have, Vince McMahon is plotting a WWE rival promotion while Fox holds a spot for a potential return of Vince McMahon to the pro wrestling space with a new promotion. Now, again, like Jason said, this is nothing more than a rumor. We don't know what's going to happen with Vince. We don't even know if he's going to be a free man. He may be behind bars before all is said and done. We don't really know.
No. He won't be. But he won't.
One could hope.
We could dream about it, but no, that's not going to be the case. What I love about it is they talked about this on Bischoff's podcast. And they qualified it by saying they don't actually believe it, right? But they go on to talk about it and kind of report on this stuff. And they say, well, we don't really think that it's going to be the case. And it was kind of fueled by the fact that he was at the Super Bowl and Fox hosted the Super Bowl. I don't really see what one has to do with the other, but I guess that was the idea that Fox is kind of holding a spot for a potential Vince McMahon promotion. And first of all, I don't believe that he is starting a wrestling promotion. What I think that they're kind of talking about is something we already knew about back in October, because it was actually Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, who first reported that Vince is starting a company. He was waiting until his kind of legal issues were behind him. Civilly, they're not, because the Janelle Grant thing is still out there. But pending the outcome of that, he is interested in jumping back in the game, but not the wrestling game. There's some sort of entertainment company, and they may be interested in financing scripts for movies or TV shows or something to that effect. So it would be in the entertainment realm. But the report at the time was that there's no indication that it would have anything to do with wrestling. So I don't know where this rumor got started that it was going to be a wrestling promotion. I don't believe that. I really don't. I don't buy that. I'm not even sure, what talent pool exactly would he even be drawing from at this point? So there are questions when you really have to stop and ask yourself, like, does it even really make sense? Fox already came out, a spokesperson did, and they said that there's nothing to this. So at least publicly, they're kind of distancing themselves from this and saying, no, don't know where this started, but that's not the case. So he is starting a company at some point, whether or not it has to do with wrestling. I honestly don't believe that for a second. But they kind of put it out there and people ran with it thinking that, oh, this story has legs. I really don't think it does. I think it's much ado about nothing. But there are people who are genuinely concerned that, oh, my God, Vince McMahon is going to end up back in the wrestling game. Because really what triggered this was the idea that he is looking for cameramen who have experience shooting in pro wrestling. So the idea being, why would he be looking for cameramen with experience shooting pro wrestling if he's not starting a pro wrestling company? I don't see it. I don't know if you have a different take on it. I don't see that happening.
No, I don't really care. Listen, I said this on my Raw review last night. I said the only thing that would be a net positive here is for creators like you and I to cover it if it is really a pro wrestling promotion, because I'm sure we'd get a boatload of views and some revenue on the kickback for covering a Vince McMahon promotion. It's like as if we don't care, as if there isn't enough wrestling to cover. Well, you almost have to cover it. It's like you got to watch the shit show unravel right before your very eyes.
I'd cover the first one. I can't speak to the second, third, and fourth one. There'd be kind of a morbid curiosity to it, but we sat through Vince McMahon's idea of pro wrestling in the modern day, and it wasn't very good. So let's just kind of leave it at that. But people hear the word or the name Vince McMahon, and there are some people who would love to see Vince McMahon back in the wrestling world. I'm not one of those people, but there are people like that. Oh, Vince, he was all these, the federal charges are gone. And so it's only a matter of time until he's back. I can't wait to get him back, because they don't like the way wrestling is now and they want him to kind of bring it back to what it was. I have no interest in seeing him back in wrestling. This is not, the Vince McMahon of years and years ago. This is a shell basically a wrinkled, shriveled up old shell of what he used to be. And I just don't have any interest in him, having anything to do with any of the existing products. If he wants to start something on his own, then by all means. It's not like, look, he could do what he wants, right? How many billions of dollars does he have, right? He's got plenty of money to throw around. If he truly wanted to start a wrestling promotion, he could start a wrestling promotion. Like, there are people who would have no issue working for him. People who have worked with him previously. People who were no longer in WWE and left after Vince left. Okay, you could probably figure who some of those people are. I'm sure he wouldn't have any issue putting together a team of people and even a small roster. Why would he even want to at this point, right? He's either 80 or almost 80 years old. To start from scratch in the wrestling realm, I mean, I know it's what he was a part of for so long, but he's always wanted to do stuff in entertainment and be looked at as something more than just a wrestling promoter. It to me, it goes against everything that he seemingly would stand for. Like, he wants to be above that. Like, he wants to do other things in entertainment. Absolutely, I could see that. Why would he even want to start back up in wrestling and have to start from the ground up again? It just doesn't even make sense to me.
No, I mean, it doesn't even make sense why Fox would not want to do business with WWE and say, all right, goodbye SmackDown, and then all of a sudden usher in a Vince McMahon-led show. Like, why would you want to give up working with WWE to give up working with Vince? That didn't really make sense to me. And secondly, I think we all know Vince is very vindictive we don't know, obviously nobody here knows him personally, but from what we read and what we've seen over the years and years and years covering pro wrestling, Vince is a very vindictive individual. Is he looking to be innocent here and put all this Janelle Grant stuff behind him, clear his name in his mind, and then maybe try and get back at whoever wronged him by starting a new rival wrestling promotion, because he's obviously not going to be allowed back to work with WWE? Do you see him, the vindictive side coming out in him saying, fuck everybody, and I'm going to do what I want now, and I'm going to show you how things should really be done?
Who would he be getting back at?
I don't know.
I mean, Triple H?
I don't think Triple H.
Ari Emanuel?
No.
So, I mean, I'm not even sure who he would be getting back at. Like, he may have a list of people that he would love to get revenge on. I'm not sure that, that they're the people running WWE, so I'm not really sure. And Tony Khan isn't someone who was responsible for his downfall. So, like, I'm not even sure who he would be vindictive towards and looking to get back at. It seems to me that if he was going to throw his money around, there are bigger things that he could throw his money around doing than just professional wrestling or sports entertainment or whatever he wants to call it. I think that in the back of your mind, he's kind of like the boogeyman, where you always worry that maybe one day he'll show up again. You think he's dead, and then the awful sequel happens and he reappears. There's always that fear, like, in the back of your mind. But he's still toxic. He still has this dark cloud hanging over him, and his reputation is forever stained. It almost doesn't even matter what happens from this point on. The stuff with Janelle Grant could end up going to arbitration, just like they want it to, and it doesn't end up in open court, which would be very embarrassing. And maybe it goes away quietly and it gets settled, but, like, the stink of this will forever follow him until the day he dies. And like you said, why would Fox want to get in bed with Vince McMahon? Is an awful visual for you, but why would they want to get in bed with him when the reason they let SmackDown, go is because they weren't getting a return on their investment? And Vince was the one who helped facilitate that deal.
Yeah.
Right? It was Nick Khan, Vince. He was there. They started on Fox in 2019. It was his product. And so they let it go. They could have renewed it. They could have kept him. And they're like, and literally, I think it was one of the Murdoch sons said, we're not getting an ROI on this. We're not getting a return on our investment. So we're parting ways with them. And it was a very cold statement. Doesn't even make sense why Fox would want to do business with this man after that.
No, and like you said, the talent pool. What talent pool does Vince have access to? What talent pool does Vince know? Like, you think Vince is going to scour the indies for fucking talent for his wrestling promotion? He had people. He had Triple H to do that for him, and then even when that happened, he didn't give a shit about any of the people that got brought right to his front doorstep and say, "Here you go, father-in-law. Look at all the talent that I've cultivated for you." And then he ended up burying them or released them. He didn't give a fuck about those people.
Well, no, he'll rehire Kevin Dunn. They'll do the Diva search again. That's how they got talent the last time. He's not scouring anything himself. he would hire people who would do the work for him. And if he's spreading that money around, like I said, there will be people who would work for him. There are probably a lot of people in wrestling who were like, he got a Raw deal, and I'd love to work for Vince McMahon. They see Vince McMahon as this, holier than thou, like this most successful promoter of all time, and the chance to work for him. Oh my God, it would leap at the opportunity. Yes, I don't doubt that he would be able to put a team together. But what the talent pool would look like, it would be very slim pickings, I think. So I don't see it. I think people are panicking for no reason. Whatever company he wants to start, as long as it has nothing to do with, any of the existing wrestling promotions who are going to bring him in, I don't really give a shit. Doesn't affect me, right? Doesn't affect the shows that we watch. So long as that's the case, let him do what he wants.
Maybe Tony ghosted Shane for Vince. Who knows?
I would like to think that he has more brains than that.
Can you imagine Vince McMahon running?
No,
AEW?
I can't. No, actually, I cannot imagine.
Oh my God, man. Yes, Eric Bischoff and Conrad. Listen, they got their own successful thing going on. Honestly, this is a rumor at this point, guys. Don't believe it until it actually happens. And I feel like, I know, negative comments towards them. I feel like a lot of what's happening right now in AEW, a lot of it is tending to be more positive instead of negative. So there really isn't a lot of material there. So they figured, let's get people talking with this one little thing and we'll throw it out there and see who bites. And legitimately everybody took the fucking bait for it. So
that's
Vince,
why they did it.
Yeah.
That's why they're like, hey, why don't we talk about this? It'll get people talking. Well, there you go.
So right now, guys, it's just a rumor. I wouldn't be too concerned about anything Vince McMahon related right now until his lawsuit is all squared away. There was another Vince McMahon news piece coming out of Fightful Select. Apparently, Vince McMahon had an insane idea for the Women's Royal Rumble in 2022. Sean Ross Sapp has revealed some interesting details about that event. A well-respected producer, TJ Wilson, stepped away from the event's production before the event. Sources told Fightful that Vince's vision for the match was so crazy that collaborating with him was very difficult. This, among other factors, contributed to Wilson's absence. Per the report, McMahon suggested Ronda Rousey eliminate the entire field in her first match in over 2.5 years. McMahon was reportedly adamant about this idea because Rousey was already booked on a full-time schedule for 2022. WWE opted against the idea, and Rousey returned, entering at number 28, lasting 10 minutes, eliminating 4 participants and winning that year's Royal Rumble. Many others had pitched Sasha Banks as the winner. Further frustration stemmed from McMahon's handling of the numerous cameos. He reportedly instructed them to get in and get out, resulting in extremely short appearances for Summer Rae, Sarah Logan, Cameron, Kelly, Melina, Molly Holly, and Ivory, who spent less than a minute in the ring during that year's Rumble. Can you imagine, Jason, we have Vince McMahon's 2022 vision going off as he wanted, and Ronda Rousey comes in at number 1 and eliminates 29 other women, and there's no other woman in the match but Ronda and one other woman.
Yeah, probably Shayna Baszler. And there are people who still want Vince back in charge of creative. I mean, when I heard this idea, my first thought was he should have been barred from his own building. I mean, I would have had his key card revoked. He wouldn't be allowed back in the office. Like, thankfully, they were able to talk him out of it. But I remember that Rumble vividly because that was the Rumble. If you remember, Sasha Banks had been gone for like a month. And she entered, I think it was number 1 in that Rumble. She was dressed up as like Sailor Moon.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was just this very uneventful, after like not even 10 minutes, this very uneventful elimination at the hands of Zelina Vega. She just gets dumped out. I kind of felt like when Daniel Bryan got dumped out of the Rumble in 2015, it was like nothing. That's what this was. I'm like, what the fuck? And that kind of set the tone for, what followed in that Rumble. So yeah, that was pretty bad. And thankfully they decided against that idea. But that kind of ties into the other story this week about this mounting frustration, not amongst every woman on the main roster in WWE, but enough of them that have reached out to Fightful with concerns about how the women are being either portrayed on TV, utilized on TV, or not utilized on TV. There's mounting frustration amongst some of the women on that roster, and honestly, you can see why. Because I think both of us on our respective platforms have talked about the various issues as far as the women in WWE, other than the top ones. You know, you think of Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair and like the really top names, Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte. But when it comes to kind of that next rung down the ladder, you can see that there are definite issues, especially when some of those women are out there on TV and they're wrestling to crickets and people don't care. So yes, I can absolutely believe that some of them are frustrated. Evidently, part of it stems from they're seeing what's going on in NXT. Now, imagine if you're
it's like fucking night and day.
Imagine if you're one of these women, like in the mid card in WWE on the main roster, and you see what Shawn Michaels is doing with the women in NXT. I'd want to be there, right? Would you rather be on Raw, getting a segment, odd segment here or there, and then when you get on TV, you have maybe like a 5-minute match, or would you rather be in NXT, hanging out with those women? Right? Because it's not just like the names that they brought in. It's just the idea that like they get a lot of television time devoted to them, and they get there's a lot of character development on that show. It's not always good. We'll tune in every now and then to one of those, especially backstage segments, and some of them are
the acting is terrible.
Yeah, some of them are just horrendous, but they're developing characters and they're being given the time to go out there and develop their characters and work. And sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. But like when I did my show this week and I looked it up, NXT last week, there were 13 different female performers featured on the show across various matches. 13. Like, you're lucky if you get half that on Raw or SmackDown any given week. Now, last night on Raw, I thought the women stole the show because you had two title matches involving the women. So like last night was an example of what it could be. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to look at NXT as sort of the model here, and you're an Ivy Nile or a Meechin or even the women's mid-card champions, I'm sure, I don't know if any of them are the ones who reached out to Shawn, but I'm sure that they're looking at that going, fuck, how come we can't have that?
Well, it's not even, it's also about what you just talked about. And it's also, the women that aren't really getting a lot of momentum on the main roster. If I'm one of those women, I don't want to put words in their mouth and speak for them. But if I'm one of those women and I'm looking at what's happening in NXT, I'm worried about my spot eventually when they call up 3, 4, 5 different women that, have a lot more momentum than what I've been given in the last 2 or 3 years. My spot potentially could be taken by one of these women, and I haven't really even been given an opportunity to see what, I could do on the main roster. So you got to worry about, I'm here. I want an opportunity. We haven't been given an opportunity. And then all of a sudden, WWE is going to look at the glimmer of their eye and fucking Julia and Stephanie Vaquer and Sol Ruca and Lola Vice and everybody else down there. That's
Jordan Grace,
and all the women down there. They're going to make the main roster, and your spot's going to be taken, or worse yet, you're going to lose your job because there's no fucking creative for you, and they're just going to cut ties. I don't want it to end up that way, but if I'm one of those women, I'm certainly thinking that myself.
Yeah, I mean, if they're frustrated now, right, it's only going to get worse when they start calling some of those women up. It's not going to get better because people are going to want to see Jordan Grace against Rhea Ripley, and they're going to want to see, Julia against Asuka, and they're going to want to see those matches. And I feel like a lot of the women who are in the kind of the middle right now are going to be stuck in neutral just like they are. And look, some of them are just not everybody is meant to be a main event player, and not everybody is always going to be featured in the way that they want to be featured, right? There's only so much real estate on the week-to-week shows. The men's roster on Raw and SmackDown is bigger than the women's roster on either show. NXT is a 2-hour show. They do a very good job of spreading the wealth as far as, the women. And I think, honestly, what the women are also benefiting from right now in NXT is the fact that the men's division is weaker than it's been in a very long time.
Yes.
Now, there's signs that that's starting to change. You had a Ricky Starks and people like that, and there could be other names coming in very soon to NXT. Now they're bringing in talent from TNA, so you're getting Mooses showing up and the Hardys. But why do you think that is, right? Why do you think part of the reason that that's happening is because there are weaknesses on the men's side, so they almost have to rely on talent now from other places. But the women are benefiting from that. If the men's division was popping off like it was during Black and Gold, I don't think the women would be getting as much time as they are. So whatever the explanation or the rationale for it is, they're benefiting from that. And I could sense that, yeah, there would be frustration from people on the main roster. Like last night on Raw, we had Lyra Valkyria defending the Intercontinental title against Dakota Kai. It took about half the match, but there was a point like midway in where they finally grabbed the fans. Because the fans really weren't reacting, and then I think Lyra did.
It was after the second rope superplex spot that Lyra held her up there for a couple seconds, and then
like a delayed, like a delayed vertical suplex, and then they got into it. And by the end of it, I thought it turned into a good match. Right, not as good as the main event, but it turned into a good match. Ivy Nile comes out, attacks her after the match. Ivy Nile is going to challenge for that championship soon, but when Ivy Nile was out there, I think the week before, nobody cared.
No,
and they're trying to position her now as next in line for a shot at this championship. Ivy Nile has certain attributes. I remember when she was in NXT, and she was sort of the powerhouse. She's not tall. She's not like a big person, but like she's obviously got a lot of power. And I remember that she was featured in that way in NXT. What was the last thing that she did on Monday Night Raw that really put her in a position where she kind of wowed the crowd, or they were kind of focusing on her strengths, right? She's not featured in that way. And she's part of a faction that up until now has been booked like a group of losers. So that doesn't help either. They haven't taken the time to really give us a reason to care about people like her. And so when that starts to change, I think that might help. If there are people who are frustrated, that I think would maybe help change that feeling a little bit. But that's part of it. Like they throw them out there. Lyra's going to defend against her soon. Okay, why? Why should I care about her as the number one contender?
So what is it? It's obviously character development. We don't know who these women are. We don't have a reason to care. And I'm gonna go back and describe what had happened last year with SmackDown, the Bayley Nia Jax thing. I mean, they got a lot of TV time. Nia's been getting a lot more microphone time than I really remember Nia ever getting. We know who Nia is. We know who Nia is as far as a character. We know how she speaks. We know her mannerisms. We know how she comes off. We know what she is. And it's not particularly good in any way, but we know. And then when she gets in there and works with somebody that she really knows how to work with, like a Tiffany or a Naomi or Bianca, it ends up being a solid match, and people always get into it and people always react. Now you look at Monday Night Raw, you're looking at Lyra, you're looking at Dakota, you're looking at Ivy, you're looking at all these other women that are getting TV time over there, and there's fucking crickets. I mean, zero reaction for any of these women on Monday night. So what is it, Jason? Do we need to just write better stories? Is it all coming down to just writing stories and giving us a reason to care, and maybe putting a microphone in their hand and developing some conflict between these characters so that when the crowd is sitting there, they know who to cheer for, who to boo? Like last night, Dakota's a babyface. Lyra's a babyface. Who the fuck do I cheer for? It's like, or who do I boo? Like, I don't really understand what their method is for the women's division. So what is it exactly?
Well, I mean, look at Roxanne. Right, Roxanne had that match a couple of weeks ago at Raquel.
Yeah, 2 years.
It was a qualifying match. And she comes out, and Michael Cole is talking about the Cinderella story, and we know Raquel is a heel. So it felt as if Roxanne was kind of the de facto babyface in that match. And I was thinking, like, are they just making her a babyface now on the main roster? They're not, because there was a segment on Raw last night. It might have been during one of the commercial breaks where she confronted Bayley, and she was still being her usual self. But I could see where somebody who doesn't watch NXT and isn't familiar with her might be confused by that and think, okay, maybe we're supposed to cheer for this woman. So there's some of that confusion as well. One of the things in the report that Fightful put out, Sean had said that there was a woman on the WWE roster who reached out to him and said, hey, can you check on the internal roster and let me know if I'm a heel or a babyface? And he was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I'll check. Like, if they don't even know what they're supposed to be, that's bad. That's not good.
Where did we go wrong here? Like, this has been a problem for a long time. This is not just like a recent thing. What I find funny is Triple H, he cultivated such an unbelievable women's division. He basically ushered in the revolution of women's wrestling on NXT. He was in charge of that show, and then it somewhat bled onto the main roster. Obviously, Vince did what he did, but now you would think that him completely in charge, his focus would be where Shawn Michaels' focus is, and it's not. So why is there so much of a difference between the main roster and NXT right now when NXT has 2 hours a week and the main roster has 5 hours every single week, 5.5 hours every single week?
Yeah, we have 3 hours now on Fridays, and we have roughly 2.5 every Monday. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the reason is. There were some people who were saying, well, maybe it's a decision made above Triple H. I don't buy that. Triple H he's the chief content officer. So if you want to praise him when it comes to storylines and things that we see on TV, you have to lay this at his feet. Because if he wanted to make, wholesale changes to the way things are done on the women's side, then he can do it. He could do it tomorrow if he wanted to. Maybe he's seeing numbers internally when it comes to ratings and things of that nature and how the women's segments do as compared to the men's that are swaying him one way or over the other. I don't know. I can't speak to why this is not being addressed. What I personally would like to see is just, again, do a better job of developing these characters and coming up with stories that are somewhat interesting in the mid-card, right? We know Rhea Ripley is always going to be feuding with somebody on top. They're going to be the dominant story, right? Just like Rhea and Liv was for a good chunk of the year last year. Charlotte Flair, of course. Tiffany, and there's like maybe 5 or 6 women, right? And then Becky, at some point, Becky Lynch will be back, right? So she'll be in that top mix. But the other women get left in the cold. Chelsea Green has the U.S. title. We really haven't been seeing too much of her. I was hopeful that, they would be able to put together some entertaining segments and skits and stuff because she really shines in that role. They haven't really even done much with her. Like the stuff they've done with her is just very basic kind of lazy stuff. They're not really putting any effort into coming up with, humorous or really interesting segments. So, and she's a champion, she has a title, which a lot of these women don't. I just think back to last year, the stuff they were doing with Chad Gable and Alpha Academy. Maxine was a big part of that, and she started to get over, right? And she was starting to get really positive reactions from the crowd. It was a very subtle type of storytelling, but it was very effective. You just got to come up with ways to do that with more of the women that you have on that roster. Sometimes they'll call people up from NXT, and this is a problem with the men too, and they don't always have a plan for them. So they call, and I don't want to use Kiana James as an example because I know she got hurt, but they do that, and that also hurts. If you call someone up and she's there, but they're not doing anything with her, I never understand what the point of that is. They just have to do a better job of focusing on them a little bit more. You don't have to give them 15 minutes of promo time every week. And frankly, some of them, we don't want them to have 15 minutes of promo time every week. But you got to give them something. And then see, maybe 1 or 2 of them really strike gold. You find this story. Remember Otis and Mandy Rose? Yeah. Kind of came out of nowhere. That's the kind of stuff I want to see more of.
Yeah, and listen, guys, it's not just a WWE thing; it's an AEW thing as well. I mean, they got 2 hours of television on Wednesdays, 2 hours on Saturday. I mean, they're doing a much better job now with showcasing different talent on different shows. Like they have their set talent on Saturdays, their set talent on Wednesdays. But still, you get one women's match on a Wednesday and maybe one backstage segment, and none of it really amounts to what, 8-9 minutes maybe every single week. It's like, look at the roster. It's like fucking busting at the seams. So this is a company-wide thing in pro wrestling. It's AEW, WWE, but
I was just gonna say just one last thing and it's not true. It's not untrue. Like people say, oh man, look at the NXT women's roster. It's stacked, and it is.
Yeah.
It is stacked. But I also feel like people make that comment. It's like, you know what? The main roster is stacked too. Because you got Bianca Belair and I could run down the list of all the women they have that are on Raw and SmackDown right now. But they're just not all being featured in a way to kind of highlight what they bring to the table. It's not like, look at the NXT women's roster and that's why they're being featured so much because they're stacked with so much talent. They don't know what to do with them all. Well, it's almost like a slap in the face because it kind of implies that like the women's rosters are not stacked. And I think that also maybe is a point of frustration. So at the end of the day, it lies at the feet of Triple H. He's the one who has the power to wave his wand and make changes, and he's got to do a better job. There are definite weaknesses when it comes to tag teams, when it comes to the women, and all of that, the buck stops with him since he's the head of creative.
It does. And I got to shout out my guy here, David M. Thank you, brother. $100 super chat.
Oh, my God.
David M. This isn't a WWE problem. If a woman's mouth is moving, she's complaining, he says. Easy to cool down the underworld 20 degrees than make a woman happy. Oh, my God. David, please tell me how you're really feeling, brother. Oh, my goodness. David M., thank you, brother, for the $100 in Super Chat. If you guys want to get in on the Super Chats, they are open here on YouTube. Make sure you get them on in, and Jason and I will hang out at the end of the show and read through them all. So, yes, hopefully better treatment for the women, especially heading into WrestleMania. Apparently, there was another story here. WWE staff morale declines with minimal raises and reduced benefits. This is coming from Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. He details a significant decline in WWE employee morale under TKO ownership, citing increased workloads, limited pay increases, and reduced benefits. Specifically, the addition of professional bull riders to the company, including its streaming on WWE's YouTube channel, has increased workloads for employees, many of whom have seen colleagues laid off since the Endeavor takeover. Despite this, bonuses have been minimal, and annual raises have been described as simply a slight 3% increase, aligning with the WrestleNomics report. Employees are concerned that they will continue to bear the burden of increased responsibilities during WrestleMania season while the company profits without any compensation for its employees. The elimination of complimentary event tickets replaced by VIP pre-sale passwords has also been a major source of unhappiness within the company. This change has affected both employees and top talent whose ticket requests are now subject to increased scrutiny. All requests reportedly require approval from WWE President Nick Khan's office. PW Insider had a note here confirming WrestleNomics report that WWE HQ employees are increasingly frustrated by the company's positive financial reports and upset with limited raises, minimal bonuses, and expanding daily responsibilities. The termination of employee stock purchase program has also further eroded morale. A lot of this was a talking point, Jason, before Endeavor took over, and when they finally took over, a lot of this was basically fear from a lot of different pockets in the company, and now it's seemingly coming to fruition. None of this has to do with the active roster outside the ticket sales, which I've heard for months now, and it seemingly is just being doubled down on. But that goes without saying. I mean, the company's selling more tickets than any other time in its history. So, the more that they can make money off the tickets, the less that they're going to have available for the talent. I mean, it's just fucking common mathematics. But as far as the other stuff, I feel bad for them. But is this something that's happening now with their record profits? Is this something that the employees are waiting on? Is it too soon to be asking for something like this? Or is it something that they have to wait a little bit and then maybe it'll come? I don't know.
No, I mean, it's corporate America. I mean, that's what it is. And we did hear stories about this previously as far as Endeavor from the UFC side. Yep. It's the Endeavor playbook. It's playing out now with WWE. When they first took over, we heard about redundancy, right? We're going to eliminate redundancy. And so there were a lot of people and teams in WWE. It was pretty one-sided too. It was mostly WWE people, not even UFC people, even though they were combining the teams that were let go because some of them had, redundant positions and you didn't need two people doing the same job. And I can kind of understand that. But now you have people who are complaining that they're doing a lot of work for very little in return. And I feel for them, but it's hardly a WWE or just an Endeavor thing. Unfortunately, this happens a lot more commonly than people may think. And it's not right. But unfortunately, this did not come as a surprise to a lot of people. It didn't come as a surprise to me when I first heard about this story. So no, I don't think it's a case where, they have to just be patient. Just be patient. It'll be coming to you. It's like, no, I think they have good reason to be upset. Whether or not they want to stay in their position, that's up to them. Yeah. If they want to find a job somewhere else, because I don't really know that that's anything that's going to change anytime soon. Again, you can understand when they hear all the glowing stories about how great, business is on fire right now. We talk about it where they go on television and they talk about how we just set a new gate record, right? They're doing this every month and the business is booming and all this other stuff. And these people are behind the scenes. They're nameless, right? We don't know who they are. They're not on TV. They don't get a producer credit at the end of the show like Lee Fitting and Paul Levesque does. But they're behind the scenes doing, some important work, and they're not getting a whole lot in return for it. So it sucks, but unfortunately, it's not all that surprising.
We have some WrestleMania news here. Major change has been discussed for the WWE Hall of Fame this year, potentially this year, and maybe moving forward. Triple H As you guys know, will headline the class of 2025. Michelle McCool is the only other name right now announced for the Hall of Fame. And in past years, it airs right after SmackDown. WrestleVolt reported this week that the company is considering making a change to the 2025 Hall of Fame ceremony, as some say they don't like its recent format of airing after SmackDown. WrestleVolt says, and I quote, "After speaking with sources, we've heard varying speculation about when and where the Hall of Fame ceremony will take place. Some within the company strongly dislike the recent format of the ceremony following SmackDown. We're told WWE is considering a change with no mention of time or place in any WrestleMania promotional material so far." The last I heard is that WWE was actively seeking a possible venue in Las Vegas to house the Hall of Fame away from SmackDown. And the first thing that I really zoned in on, Jason, was the fact that SmackDown, for at least right now, up until May or June, whenever that time comes, is 3 hours. And the SmackDown is going to be 3 hours, and then the Hall of Fame is going to be, 2.5 hours, another 3 hours after that. It's a long fucking night for everybody that's going to be there. And it doesn't really put a spotlight on celebration, and it doesn't really put a spotlight on paying respects and paying it forward to everybody that is there being honored in the Hall of Fame. You know, you got to wrestle, and then you got to rush. Imagine it being a talent, wrestle, and then rush to get dressed and sit. You know, you want to go out. You want to celebrate with your colleagues and coworkers. You want to celebrate. You want to have a couple of drinks. You can't really do that knowing that you just worked a fucking 20-minute match on SmackDown, and you got to sit with everybody in the arena with the fans in the same building. I would love to see it moved to its own night, like a Thursday, and have it just stretch out for the entire weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then have its own venue and have everybody that works there just have a night out and just enjoy the Hall of Fame for what it really is. I don't know how you feel about it, but I personally hope that it is changed, because in the previous years, just coming from me, I haven't really watched the Hall of Fame live as it happened, and then I don't really make much of an effort to go back and rewatch unless it's like an Undertaker or a Paul Heyman. I want to sit down and enjoy it. I want to have a beverage. I want to sit down and enjoy it, watch it. Normally, if it's airing after SmackDown, I probably won't do that. I don't know what you think.
Well, you won't do it because you're working, like the rest of us. So you don't really have a choice in the matter. There's no other day that really works for it, honestly, I think, except Thursday. I think you kind of kick off WrestleMania week with it. It could be the kickoff event. And then it goes into SmackDown on Friday. Saturday's a very busy day because you have NXT. And then WrestleMania Night 1. And then WrestleMania Night 2 is on Sunday. And it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, I don't think, to do it that day. So what are you looking at? Monday's Raw. So when else are you doing the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
It almost has to be Thursday. Thursday's like the one open night that they have. So I think that makes a lot of sense. SmackDown being 3 hours, it's just going to be impossible. Imagine sitting there for especially the way SmackDown has been lately, okay? Because SmackDown's no good. And you sit there through 3 hours of SmackDown, and now you have the Hall of Fame is just beginning. I mean, there have been Hall of Fame ceremonies in the last couple of years where for the later inductees, there are people leaving.
Yeah.
And that was when SmackDown was 2 hours.
You mentioned the word SmackDown. I started falling asleep.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
It's pretty bad.
You just proved my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't work. I almost feel like they're going to have to move it to another night. I don't know what else the solution would be unless they just completely change the ceremony and don't even have it in front of fans. I'm sure they're going to want to sell tickets. It's all about making money, especially now under Endeavor. Because it got so bad there for a while with some of the fan reactions and people getting the what chant and stuff. I was like, you know what? Take the Hall of Fame out of these arenas. Turn it into a banquet event the way it used to be.
Yep.
You want to sell some tickets, sell like limited tickets to fans, like jack the fucking price up and you can make some money that way. I would have been fine with that being the Hall of Fame format. Like in a perfect world, that would be the format. I don't see them doing that. So if you're going to have like an arena type event, it's going to have to be on either a Wednesday or a Thursday. Let that be the lead in the kickoff to all the activities that then follow during WrestleMania week.
I think we move it to Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Peacock. I think that sounds like
you can't though, but you can. They got Evolve.
Oh, you're thinking Evolve. I was thinking something else. I don't know.
What else would there be? You've got Evolve starting on March 5th, 8
Evolve
p.m.
on
Wednesday.
Tubi, folks. 8
on
p.m.
Tubi TV, yeah, of course. You can't interfere with that.
I know. Yeah, so that's hopefully changing this year. We'll keep you guys posted on that. Nothing really is official yet. As for the WrestleMania card, nothing is official outside of Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair is now made official for the WWE Women's Championship. And we'll definitely get more coming out of Saturday, which we will definitely get into. We'll do some chamber preview and predictions. But some other rumors regarding the WrestleMania card coming from WrestleVotes. They reported that WWE has discussed doing AJ Styles versus Finn Balor at WrestleMania for the first time at a Mania. Their last match happened on SmackDown in 2023. Styles returned from injury this year at the Royal Rumble. WrestleVote says, I could see it being Dominic Mysterio versus Finn Balor. I don't think that will happen. You know, I heard potentially AJ Styles, if not Braun Breaker, for Finn's singles match for the first time ever at WrestleMania. So I do believe, as we reported last week, I do believe the undercard is still being worked on. So unfortunately, these talents fall into the WrestleMania undercard, and I think a lot of the shuffling is still going on there. You know, there's a lot of moving pieces here, Jason. AJ Styles, we've seen him kind of interact with Braun Breaker. We've seen him at the same time interact with Logan Paul. Dominic, we've seen him interact with Finn Balor. You could see where, you know, they may potentially be plans for everybody here as far as the WrestleMania card. Dominic continues to mention a new member of Judgment Day, and every time he mentions that, Aleister Black's name gets brought up in discussion as a potential new member to lead the Judgment Day. Again, we don't really know, but if you want to do AJ Styles against anybody at WrestleMania, you know, I'm not going to really be picky as long as he's on the card because of the talent that he is. But out of everything that we've seen so far, again, I don't want to do it and I don't want to will it into existence, but I feel like it's going to be some multi-man match for Braun Breaker at WrestleMania, and I think AJ is going to be a part of that.
I'm leaning more in the direction of AJ against Logan Paul. I just think it makes a lot of sense to do that. It keeps Logan Paul out of some of these top matches that people are talking about. Not that they wouldn't be great matches. I just think you do a match like AJ and Logan, which has not been done before. You do that, you know, as a solid undercard match, and I think it could be a great match. We saw kind of a tease last night. I don't know if it aired on the show or, again, if I saw this during commercial, but they had an interaction on the show last night. You know, where AJ was in the back, he was being interviewed, and then Logan interrupted and pointed out that he eliminated AJ from the Royal Rumble, which he did. And AJ said, well, you know, that's the way the Rumble goes, but I bet you can't do it again. And Logan said, well, you know, I got a chamber this weekend to win, and then I'm going to WrestleMania, so see ya. And he walked off. I think AJ and Logan, we'll see what happens in the chamber this weekend. I'm gonna put my my bet on that for a match. One thing that we saw last night that makes me think if we do get a multi-man match, it could be could we be looking at Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and Dominic? So it's a way to get Balor and Dom in the same match, but Breaker is in there. You put the title on the line. Is that the match that we're looking at? Could it be a triple threat match?
It could. I don't want to rule that out. I mean, anything is possible. Then I'm going to ask.
So that way the fans have somebody to cheer for.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. What do you do with Penta? What do you do with Pete Dunne? What do you do with Ludwig Kaiser? I mean, everybody, Sheamus. I mean, everybody's going to be vying for the Intercontinental title. So what do you do with those guys?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think Sheamus is going to be finishing his story this year. It's not looking too good as far as that goes. I've laid out the idea as far as what I would do with Penta and where I think it may be going with Penta, which I think is a tag match. Maybe him and Ray against the New Day. So I think that would be a solid kind of fit for him. Him and Kaiser, I mean, clearly after what we saw last night, Kaiser actually won their match. So Penta suffered his first loss in WWE, even though he didn't get, you know, the actual pinfall was not on him. To me, that's a TV match. I think they're going to wrap that up on TV in the next few weeks. And then maybe we'll see things play out if he gets involved in the Ray and the New Day stuff. So the pieces are slowly, you can see where they might be fitting into place. We're not going to really have a lot more clarity until next week. Coming out of the chamber, I think when we're sitting here doing this, things are going to look quite a bit different. Yeah. And you don't know, like, as far as different interactions in the chamber, forget the winners. People who aren't going to win, but, like, they may get eliminated by somebody and then come back and attack them, or there may be other little interactions in the matches, and that leads to something down the road. Heading into WrestleMania. So we'll have more clarity at that point. Hopefully AJ and look, AJ going after the Intercontinental title is fine. I don't see him winning it, but I think him and Logan one-on-one, you don't think that wouldn't be a really good match?
It would be a great match, and I like you said, it hasn't happened before, so that's +1 there. +2,
Yeah, it's one-on-one.
You get him away from the fucking vicious rumors that everybody's like, oh my god, it's gonna be Logan Paul and CM Punk. I had to say repeatedly last night, guys, it's not gonna be CM Punk's WrestleMania match. Like, it's not gonna happen. I could see it happening this year for sure, being that they're on the same brand and it's Netflix. It's not going to be the match. So, yeah, I think that's the best possible scenario that you could do with AJ and Logan Paul. I do like that a lot. Now, you mentioned the New Day. I don't know what we do with Penta. You know, I like the idea of Penta and Ray teaming together. And like you said last week, it does make sense. And they did hold off on it initially to maybe do it at a later date. And now seems the best time to possibly do it going into WrestleMania, being that the New Day is feuding with the LWO. They put Rey Mysterio out. They wrote him off TV for a little bit. I just seen this, and I wonder if this has anything to do with what we're going to see with the New Day at WrestleMania. The Hardy Boys right now are on NXT against the No Quarter Catch Crew. It's Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne, and that's taking place tonight on NXT. Now, according to WrestleVotes, WWE dropped a brand new Hardy Boys t-shirt ahead of their NXT return tonight, and internally there's buzz that this is just the beginning, with creative sources optimistic that the Hardys will have a main roster program sometime this spring. Could you potentially see them at WrestleMania against the New Day if WWE wants to get them integrated onto the main roster again?
Sure. Yeah, I could see that. It would just be a matter of how do you get there?
Yeah.
Because right now they're only now making appearances in NXT. So is it a case where the New Day starts to call them out, drops little digs at them on TV? They show up as a surprise one week. I mean, it'd be very easy to set that program up if you want to. I remember when the Hardys came back at WrestleMania 33. It was the New Day. Remember, they were hosting WrestleMania.
Were on stage. One of the biggest pops in the history of WrestleMania.
And they were there for it. And I remember Kofi's off to the side. He's dancing. He's doing the Jeff Hardy dance. I mean, a little bit of history there. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Hardys, and I'm not surprised they're already putting t-shirts out and trying to market them because they're very marketable. So yeah, I could see that being a WrestleMania match. Right now, all this TNA interaction is mostly limited to NXT, right? We see Royal Rumble cameos. We have not seen TNA talent on Raw and SmackDown, though. So that would be different. But the Hardys are kind of an exception because they're TNA talent, but they were WWE talent first. So, it's not like their audience doesn't know who they are and isn't going to pop huge for them if they show up on TV. So, yeah, I could definitely see that being a potential match for New Day at WrestleMania.
As long as we get Hardys versus Fraxium, I'm good. I think that would be a pretty cool fucking match.
I think so, too.
I just seen this as well. I'll put this into the notes here. LFG, which I just started watching. I am all caught up. I watched the first 2 episodes this past weekend. I'm enjoying what's going on there. It just got picked up for season 2. So this is according to PW Insider. They are reportedly picking it up for a second season. And it's good to go. I like it. I'm liking the vibe of the show. I don't know how you feel about the show, Jason, if you watched it or not. But I like what is coming out of that show. There's a couple of people on that show that I already see big things for potentially from a fan's perspective. A couple of favorites already on there. How do you feel about the show?
I have only seen clips so far.
Okay.
I was going to ask if it's worth checking out the full episodes.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now they're an hour long or half an hour?
I think this one was like an hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
Yeah. 8 o'clock. It ended at 9:30. Yeah.
Is it like that every week?
I don't remember the first one being an hour and a half.
God, these shows get longer and longer. Remember Tough Enough was I think Tough Enough was an hour maybe, and it's like, okay, I could deal with that. Even fucking LFG is longer than an hour. Really, I didn't know that. I thought it was an hour long.
Yeah, no. Normally it goes an hour long, but they did an hour and a half because they were voting and they were racking up points, and they put a bunch of the students in the ring together for mock matches. Some in the PC and then some in front of the live audience. Contestants.
Now the talent that they're pulling and using for this show, are these people with independent backgrounds, or they're completely new and all wet behind the ears and they have no prior experience?
A lot of them have background in other aspects. I know there's a couple of football players there. There's a cheerleader. So some people with no background at all.
So basically like Tough Enough.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got Bully Ray, you got Mickey James, Booker T, and The Undertaker, all your guest coaches. Brian James is going to be on there, and CM Punk was already on there.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So is Road Dogg going to teach them how to write a show?
I hope not. After what we saw on Friday, I don't want Road Dogg anywhere near the pen.
Yeah.
But yes, he's going to be on. He's going to be on episode 3 this coming Sunday on A&E. Speaking of the Road Dogg, apparently there's some backstage news on the creative leadership coming out of Raw and SmackDown. Obviously, we talked about this last week, but Meltzer, our good buddy Dave Meltzer, reported that Brian James and John Swikata are the lead writers for SmackDown. Meltzer wrote, "We are told there is so much going on right now that one lead writer on the show wasn't enough. Well, maybe they should go back to one lead writer." Ryan Ward is on Raw with John Beckstrom. Ed Koskey is there overseeing the editing of the scripts. Bruce Pritchard is the buffer between them and Paul Levesque. And Swikata replaced Ryan Callahan as the head writer in June over on Friday night. Can we get Callahan back? I don't know what the fuck is going on over there, man. What was that show on Friday, man? That first 90 minutes was fucking so offensive. I had to refrain from saying anything worse than I said online.
Well, I mean, what I said is that was one of the worst SmackDowns I think that I've seen in maybe years.
Yeah.
And that's with the Rock segment. I'm not saying like everything other than the Rock, like with the Rock segment too, which I didn't think the segment itself was really good. It was one of the worst SmackDowns I've seen in a very long time. So it just, you keep waiting for it to get better, especially now that we're heading into WrestleMania. And it just doesn't. They're just stuck in this creative rut where the show just isn't interesting. I'm not even saying like the stories don't make sense or you can't see where they're going, but it's just not a very interesting show. Like a lot of times I sit here and I watch it and look, the 3-hour format does no favors to this show. It's just boring, which to me is the worst kind of show that you can have. Yeah. It's not even like so bad it's good. It's just boring. And you'll get some good stuff here and there, but for 3 hours, it's hard to hold your interest for the full 3 hours. I don't want to just say it's a 3-hour issue because I feel like if they go back to 2 hours in May or June, it's not like the show is magically going to be great again. They've got some issues that need to be addressed. If Road Dogg can help address those issues, then great. I don't know when he officially started as the co-lead writer, if it was last week or this week. I don't know.
He started on Friday.
He started on Friday. Okay, well... That's not a good sign.
No, it's not a good sign at all.
But I thought that show was terrible.
I would have rather watched The Rock fold laundry for 3 hours than watch that show.
I would have rather listened to The Rock read the phone book. Yeah, I mean, pretty much do anything except what he actually did, which was just fucking weird and bizarre, and well, we'll get into it, but like. Because I had debates with people about, that segment was great. You're just hating on the segment. Like, no, it really wasn't. It may lead to great stuff. I think that the potential for this to lead to something fun and great is absolutely there. And we're having a lot of fun kind of fantasy booking where it may be going. But as a segment, I just thought, he's out there and he does this thing in his promos. This is not new, where he just repeats himself a lot. Or he'll like tap dance around, and you sit there and you're like, all right, it's The Rock and he's entertaining, but like get to the fucking point.
Yes.
And he was doing a lot of that in that segment. So obviously everybody loved the fact he came out there to announce that WrestleMania is returning to New Orleans next year, which they were in New Orleans. And he has claimed that they were going to do it at the Super Bowl. And there were some hiccups and they weren't able to make it happen where they made the announcement. And I'm like, yeah, you weren't able to make it happen because they don't, that's their night. I don't think they give a shit, as far as WrestleMania is coming back to New Orleans. So whatever the hiccups were, it didn't happen. But the fans in New Orleans loved it and they cheered and they were all excited. And then he invited Cody out and it just got weirder and weirder and quieter and quieter. And I'm watching him and I'm listening to him and I'm like, dude, it took 25 minutes to make a point that could have been made in 10. And that was sort of the story of the entire segment. But yeah, SmackDown as a whole has some real problems and they need to be addressed because the talent is there. They're just not doing enough to make the talent and what they're doing interesting. I could point to LA Knight and Carmelo Hayes. There are tons of people on that show I'm watching. I'm like, what are they doing with these people?
Well, you're not a fan of Mello is Miz?
Yeah, Mello was Miz, and we had Louisiana Knights come out the other night, which I got a kick out of that.
R-Truth is tagging the Miz, and they're on opposite teams in that tag team match. What the fuck am I watching here, man?
I'm like, you could do R-Truth comedy. I mean, R-Truth is cool and all, but it's like not what's LA Knight doing in there? You know, it's like, can we not come up with something better for him? Obviously, he's going after Nakamura. He's going to try to get the U.S. title back. But I said this the other week. I said, okay, let's game this out here. And you do the match, and he gets the belt back, right? Okay, he's the United States champion again. So he's right back where he was, where he doesn't have any challengers. Like, what are you going to do with him when he wins the belt back? That was the problem last time. Once he beat Logan Paul, which was like the big payoff, they had nothing for him. There was nobody lined up. There was no compelling challenger lined up for him to work with and go on the mic or in the ring, face-to-face, toe-to-toe with. They're going to be right back in the same boat they were in before. Can we come up with something better for this guy?
Imagine that. We'll go LA Knight winning the title at SummerSlam to lose it to Nakamura at Survivor Series, and then have Nakamura not defend the title for 70 days, only to give it back to LA Knight. Imagine that.
I described Nakamura on my show the other day. I said he has spent most of his time since winning the championship stalking people in the back like a Japanese Jason Voorhees. I mean, That's basically what he has been. That's what he's spent most of his time doing. I love the presentation when he comes out, the entrance and the music and everything, I think is spot on. But beyond that, I mean, what are we doing here as far as this run? And again, if Knight just gets the belt back, okay, great, he's got a belt. That's not really doing a lot of good for people like Lyra and Chelsea either. You got to have more to it than that. So yeah, I see R-Truth out there like, oh, Louisiana Knight. They bring him out. He's got a fucking po' boy sandwich in his hand. He's putting beads around his neck. I'm like,
it's gonna be you in a year. Beads and a po' boy.
Yes, and a hand grenade. Yes, which is a fantastic drink, and you can walk around with your drinks too. You don't have to be worried about that.
Oh, it's like Vegas, huh?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. That's great. That's good to know.
Yeah. So I mean, that'll be me next year. But I'm not LA Knight. Like come on. We need to be coming up with something a little bit better than that for the guy. And it doesn't look like they're going to do him and Drew McIntyre. I mean, I know there was some talk about that. It doesn't feel like that to me now.
No.
But yeah, SmackDown needs some serious help.
One big thing coming out of SmackDown is the tension between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. This was in the news, and this is coming from our good friends over at WrestleVotes. They reported that the news coming out of SmackDown is that it is on. Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa is the plan for a one-on-one match at WrestleMania. According to a source, those plans took shape shortly after the decision was made to have Solo face Roman Reigns at the Raw Netflix premiere back in January. Dave Meltzer is reporting regarding the rumors of Fatu and Solo Sikoa. It is right now not booked, and one of them has a different booking, but of course this can all change, and this match is not finalized according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. Now, I don't know who's telling Dave the WrestleMania plans. I don't know if he's speaking out of his mobile phone that he's doing fucking podcasts on. I don't know. But regardless, this is the right direction. You've seen it now happen for 2 weeks, and it's only getting worse. Right now, Jason, I think this is the best match for both. Fatu versus Solo is the WrestleMania match, as far as I'm concerned, for Las Vegas.
Well, it's got story.
Yeah.
It's got story. It's got history. They're doing the slow build to it. Not everybody may be terribly excited about the story, but you can see where this could be a real breakout, situation for Jacob Fatu. So, yeah, I mean, Jacob challenging for a championship, the only championship he would be challenging for would be something like the U.S. title. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. And if they're not doing him and Roman, which it doesn't feel like they're doing, Solo is the one that makes the most sense. Honestly, like, if you don't do that match, what other match would there be for Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania that would make sense?
Nothing.
Jacob Fatu, you could put him in there with almost anybody, but even him, story-wise, like, there's really no other match that makes sense. I don't know what other plans there may be, unless it's some kind of multi-man match, but to me, the only thing that makes sense is Jacob against Solo.
That's the one that makes the most sense. And like you said, LA Knight potentially winning that United States Championship back. They could always go right back around and do LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for that United States Championship. But then at that point, you're basically hitting a brick wall, and you almost have to give Jacob Fatu the United States Championship. So LA Knight would be shit out of luck again for a second time. But I could see them doing that after WrestleMania if they do want to go LA Knight being a two-time champion.
Well, they're doing LA Knight and Nakamura this Friday, so there's going to be a title match.
Oh, is that confirmed?
I believe so.
Wow.
Wasn't that announced? I think that was announced.
Okay. Yeah, title change looking like a possibility on Friday.
Well, yeah, I mean, unless they do some sort of a fuck finish and then run it back again, but I don't really see the point in doing that. So, yeah, they're doing it on either this week or next week, but I'm pretty sure the match is this week. And yeah, I mean, it really shouldn't be anything other than a title change, and then they could begin building to whatever the program would be for Knight going into WrestleMania. You know, pick your poison as far as somebody on the SmackDown undercard that he could defend that championship against. But SmackDown consistently now we're in a time period where I feel certainly the last 3 or 4 weeks, SmackDown of the 3 quote unquote major shows of the week is dead last. Consistently, pretty consistently each week now. If you compare Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown, SmackDown's at the bottom of the heap.
Yeah, Raw.
That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case like 7-8 months ago.
No, it was not. Raw's number 1. Some people may say NXT's number 2. I'm going to say Dynamite's number 2 just for the simple fact that I'm not really a big fan of what they're doing. And NXT may be number 2 now with what's going on with TNA.
Well,
Dynamite
lately,
number 3, flip-flop them however you feel. SmackDown's definitely number 5 if you want to include TNA. So it's the worst.
Well, according to you, I bet fucking LFG may be ahead of SmackDown now. SmackDown may be number 6.
I would put it at number 6 now that you mention it. Yes.
Yeah.
TNT, you could put that one on the fucking list. It'd be number 7. We're
absolutely. Of course, absolutely. I agree.
So, yeah, that's the plan right now for Solo and Jacob Fatu. That's the big stuff coming off of SmackDown. And obviously the big thing that happened on Friday was the return of the final boss, The Rock. And he was there to announce WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans. And he was here to confront Cody Rhodes. So
I want your soul.
Is that what it is?
I want your soul. JD, give me your soul.
No, shut that off, man. You sound so fucking stupid. Oh, my God.
Do I say that he's stupider than the fucking Rock did in the ring on Friday night?
I was expecting I
want your soul.
No, I wanted to sound as goofy as he sounded in the ring, standing there saying the shit that he was saying.
He did. We'll get into what he said. He confronted Cody Rhodes. Fightful Select put this report out. They were told by sources close to the situation that Creative was told just a few days ahead of SmackDown, with it being a shock to many in the company. Now, this is only the case because, you know, Meltzer put something out today in regards to WrestleMania plans and this and that. Nobody knows what The Rock is doing outside of 3 people. It's himself, Nick Khan, you want to include Ari Emanuel, and Triple H, and that's it. I guarantee you Triple H doesn't even know half the shit that he's supposed to know. Michael Hayes, potentially. A group of 5 people, 4 or 5 people, that's it. Nobody knows. The community don't know. The IWC, Meltzer, SAP, they don't know nothing. So whatever you're getting is nothing more than mere speculation. Rock is going to be very tight-lipped about everything. Rock appeared and announced a number of things. Obviously, WrestleMania New Orleans, and that he wanted Cody Rhodes' soul, and that he'd be at the Elimination Chamber to see if Cody would give him his soul. So as far as future plans, we're still working on them, says Fightful, and how it affects things. Cody vs. John Cena has been in the plan since late last year. Roman Reigns vs. CM Punk, and then later Reigns, Punk, and Rollins in a triple threat match have been planned at various points. Back in October, WWE Creative was preparing stories as if The Rock would not be available for WrestleMania. That continued all the way up until this week. At one point, a top talent had joked to Ibu of the Self-Made Discord that WrestleMania was at the mercy of Dwayne, as he'd mentioned on our post-show Raw podcast. As of the evening ahead of SmackDown, Cody Rhodes was already pulled from the main event of SmackDown, which was reflected internally. Those that we've spoken to internally say that this all came together very late, and even they haven't been told the next direction. Now, Christian Scoville was listed as a writer for the segment, who does work on most Cody Rhodes segments. Michael Hayes was listed as the producer, despite the listed writer. The Rock does not follow strict scripts, in case you were wondering. Obviously, with fucking 30 minutes and then went on and on and on about nothing. I don't know how many curse words he threw out there, but he was bleeped one time, wasn't he?
Not as many as usual.
Yeah.
Remember the last time he was on NXT? I mean, it was like every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And he admitted, like, he went out there, didn't know what he was going to say. He was just going to feel the mana, I guess, and just let it come to him. And that also was a very weird segment when he was on, and it did huge numbers. They did like 950,000 viewers. And SmackDown was way up this week too. I mean, look, no one's denying the star power of The Rock. And when you announce that he's going to be there, he's going to do numbers and he's going to do box office. But that was also a very weird segment. And this was weird in a different way. But his last few have been kind of strange, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't know where Gewurz was. Usually he's there tagging along, writing the shit for The Rock. But apparently he was obviously not following any scripts at all on Friday. People backstage in WWE were reportedly unhappy about The Rock's return and how the game plan completely changed. That's what Meltzer reported today as well. They were unhappy. Why are you unhappy about The Rock being back? Now you got everything you want. We'll get into that. I know that there's definitely people not happy with the way that they had a game plan and the game plan completely changed, says Dave Meltzer, but it's probably only changing for a couple of people. I guess we'll find out Saturday if they change from Cody versus Cena, and I don't know where The Rock actually fits in. I guess we'll start there, Jason. A lot of the people, I guess I should say, me personally, I enjoyed the segment. Yes, I agree with everything you said. It was fucking weird. It was bizarre. It was very almost borderline fucking satanic, Illuminati-esque. I want your soul. I want you to be my champion. We don't know what my champion means as far as Rock and Cody. He looks at the championship and he uses the word that, and he emphasizes that. And I'm like, is he talking about the WWE Championship? And then Cody said, it's about this. You want this? And Cody's ready to challenge it, put the title on the line. No, it's not about that. It's not, I want you to be my champion. And then he slowly caresses the belt. And then he says, I want your soul. So I'm looking at this. I'm literally with my brother, who's a conspiracy theorist in his own right. He's fucking laughing at this, looking at me. He's like, what the fuck are you watching on Friday? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. Nobody knew what was going on. The Rock is here. Everybody was excited. So it was bizarre. It was weird. But the one thing that I took away from it is I see everybody, criticizing it on social media. Oh, this sucks. This is not what I expected. Granted, it's not what any of us expected. It's a different take on the final boss here. Demented in some ways. But this sucks. I don't want this. I don't know where this goes. I don't know what this means. And I'm sitting back and I'm listening to everybody and reading everybody's tweets and displeasure. And I come on my show on Friday. I'm like, yeah, it's fucking weird. But you got exactly what you asked for. Where was the unpredictability? There you go. What the fuck is The Rock talking about? He gave you 3 questions that we need answers to. Saturday, now we have this big looming question happening at the Elimination Chamber. Now there's a bigger reason to watch on Saturday night at the Elimination Chamber. The excitement of WrestleMania. You all asked where it was. Here it is. So I get to say, you wanted all this, and now you have to fucking complain about it. The road to WrestleMania can go in 3 or 4 different ways, and nobody knows which way it's going to go. So even though it did come off weird, we got everything that we wanted, didn't we?
Well, you got what you wanted. Obviously, there are people who did not get what they wanted.
What do you want?
Well, look, I mean, there are people who don't like The Rock, and they just, he drops in, and it's just, you get segments like this, you don't know where it's going, and it feels like he's just interjecting himself into things, especially if he's not going to wrestle. And I can understand people being upset about that. I mean, The Rock they had a press conference after SmackDown, as if it was a PLE. And it really was just Rock sitting there. He was sipping Terramana and he was breaking kayfabe and talking about the storyline and how great the storyline is, what they're trying to do. And it again, very strange. I, like many people, felt the WrestleMania build so far. And yes, there's still 8 weeks to go because WrestleMania is a few weeks later this year than it usually is. But the build so far has been it's been lacking. Right? It doesn't feel the way it did last year. We talked about it last week on TNT. There's a variety of reasons for that. There's a lot going into WrestleMania 40. Cody's story, The Rock had just come back and went heel. There's a lot going on last year that we did not have this year. So I liked the fact that they were, announcing The Rock was going to be there because I thought, okay, this might blow things up maybe in a positive way, right? Shake things up a little bit. Nothing bad about that. And I still feel that way because we don't know how this is going to play out. So I don't hate that aspect of it. I just thought that the segment itself, as it played out, was just not a great segment. And there were some inconsistencies as well. So I go back to the night after WrestleMania last year, after Cody finished his story. Funny enough, during that segment, you remember the Rock and Cody were in the ring together. Rock had his belt. Cody had his belt.
Yeah.
There was a chant from the crowd that night because it got very weird then too. And the crowd chanted, "This is awkward."
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, okay. So history repeated itself on Friday. So this was not even the first time we had an awkward segment with Cody and the Rock. And they did their little belt swap. It's like, you know, I'll let you hold mine if you let me hold yours. I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. But in that segment, Cody made a comment and he said, "I'm the champion now. I'm your champion." And The Rock said, "Yes, you are my champion." So you had The Rock on Friday night going, "I want you to be my champion," even though he already acknowledged last year that Cody is in fact his champion. So I'm not quite sure what changed from then to now. Obviously, them or Rock, they came up with some kind of idea that they think is great. And so this is the direction they decided to go in. But there's a little disconnect there. Like, I really don't think that a year ago they envisioned, okay, we have this great long-term plan for where we're going to go with this. Like, this was all planned out and mapped out this exact way for a year. I don't believe that. So that was strange because I'm thinking, okay, well, what does he mean by that? He's already acknowledged that Cody is his champion. And so he goes on and on about how I can make your dreams come true. And I'm like, Cody's dreams came true a year ago, man. He finished the story. He won the championship that his father had taken away from him. He's the face of the company. He is the face of WWE, right? It's not Roman Reigns anymore. It's Cody Rhodes. Yeah. The implication, though, is that, well, Rock's this big star. I've got 500 million followers. You only have whatever Cody has, 100 million on Instagram. I'm like, okay, so now we're talking about Instagram followers. And he's like, I can make you something that you could only dream of. And then he's like, talk it over with your wife. And then get back to me at Elimination Chamber. Like he's running for office and I have to go discuss this with my family before I decide to be The Rock's running mate and whatever this weird campaign is that he's doing. So if he says, okay, Rock, you know what? I want to be your champion. What does that even mean? Like, how are things different at that point that for Cody, let's say he says yes. How are things different coming out of this decision on Saturday if he agrees and says, yes, Rock, I will be your champion? Like, we still don't even know what that...
Nothing really changes for Cody, right?
No, nothing changes. We still really don't even know what that means. So we'll see, coming out of that segment, not that I expect Cody to say yes. I'm sure he's going to say no. And then the bigger question is, when he does say no, how does The Rock react to that? Everybody's just assuming we're going to get this corporate champion thing where it won't be Cody. Somebody else will take that spot instead. For all we know, we could be reading this completely wrong. And if Cody rejects The Rock, we may yet get The Rock wrestling at WrestleMania.
I know.
The Rock may insert himself into whatever that main event is going to be and make it a triple threat match.
That's exactly what I said last night. I said this on my Raw review last night. And just to go back on what you said, The Rock really put emphasis on brother. I want a brother. I never had a brother, and I'm looking for somebody to basically fill that role. I mean, what are you talking about? You got a whole fucking family of brothers. You want Cody to be your brother? Like, I'm laughing. What do you mean?
That's the other aspect of this too. Roman Reigns had that championship for 3.5 years. So why is he only now showing up and saying, I need you to be my champion, right? Why couldn't Roman be your champion? What was Roman doing wrong that Roman wasn't your champion?
I want the brother I've never had. What are you talking about? You got a whole fucking family looking at you. You want Cody Rhodes as your brother. You made a mention like, this was not the plan. I absolutely agree with you 1,000%. This was not the fucking plan from last year's Mania to this year's Mania. There's no fucking way anybody can convince any one of us this was the plan because he shows up on the Raw after Mania. He hands him what we assume is the Rolex. They do that belt exchange.
I think Cody has said since then that it was. I think he has said that it was the Rolex that he gifted that to The Rock before WrestleMania. I think that's what he handed back to him.
Yeah, so we got that. We got the belt exchange. We don't see The Rock again until Atlanta. Bad Blood. He comes out, he does the 3 fingers, the throat slash, and that really meant nothing in the grand scheme of things now looking back at it. And then we see him again on the Raw debut on Netflix where he came out more like Dwayne. He wasn't even the final boss. He's backstage. He's chummy with Cody, drinking Terramana and Wheatley's vodka. And everybody rightfully shits on him because it's like, what happened to the fucking story that we got coming out of last year's Mania? You hated the fucking guy. You left off with him in a certain way, and now you're drinking with him with no dialogue in between. Like, why are you buddy with him, and why are you glazing him as the champion now? So I think from that moment on, he showed up on Tuesday. He made everybody look foolish because he said, I'm 20 steps ahead. Just enjoy the road The Rock is going to take you on for WrestleMania. We didn't know what that meant. So I honestly think what they did on Friday was a way to kind of fix the stupidity that they started on the Raw debut on Netflix with them backstage live streaming on Instagram. Like, how do you make sense of that? So the only natural direction was to actually have these guys be buddy and The Rock to come out and say what he said. But even then, he gave us more questions than answers, and he gave us these inconsistencies with everything. What the fuck does he mean with anything he said? So I think it was an effort to try and make sense of the stupidity that they did on Monday. I don't know how you feel about that.
It's possible. I mean, the one good thing that came out of it, and you said this earlier, is that I think people who were already excited about Elimination Chamber were going to watch it anyway. And I'm looking forward to it because I think, I'm sure we'll get into the predictions here in a second, but I think that there is an air of unpredictability as far as who's going to win both chamber matches. I mean, to me, it comes down really to a couple of people in each one, but it could really go either way. So I'm looking forward to the show. I'm looking forward to the men's chamber in particular, and Cena being in there with Punk and all that. But now The Rock being on the show adds a whole other dimension to it, right? So there's going to be this even greater interest level in the show. Cody's on the show now. Rock is on the show. And we have to wait to see. It's like LeBron James, the decision. Like, what's Cody's decision going to be? I think also the positioning of that segment on the show will be very important. If it happens in the middle of the show, would they close the show with it after the chamber? Is Cody going to make his decision, and then depending on what he says, is that going to play out in some way at the end of the chamber? Like, there are more questions than answers, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, because it keeps people tuned in to find out, okay, what's going to happen next. We don't even know how often we're going to see Rock on TV, between now and WrestleMania. Whatever his role will be at WrestleMania, are we going to get him pretty consistently on these shows, or is he going to show up, every now and then? We're still waiting for Roman Reigns to come back. We haven't seen him since the Royal Rumble. So having more questions than answers is not, inherently a bad thing. It's just that I think everybody is assuming where this is going. We could all be wrong. And Rock said at that press conference, the beauty of this story is that it doesn't even have to culminate in a match. Me and Cody don't even have to touch. We don't even have to get in the ring together. That doesn't mean that they won't. He's saying what he's saying is we don't have to.
Well, that's just an outlandish comment to say in the position that you're in. Of course it has to culminate in a match.
No, it is. Well, yeah, it's pro wrestling. I mean, you have good versus evil. You have these conflicts between two people. We saw them in the ring last year at WrestleMania. So the idea that he would say, well, it doesn't even have to culminate in a match between us. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know why you would want to say that. It was just a weird press conference anyway, because, again, he was completely out of character just talking about it like it was a movie. I don't think people are going to be very happy about that if in the end we don't get some kind of a match. But if he was to insert himself into that title match, I don't know if you feel the same way. I would almost have to assume that it would be a way for Cody to kind of get his win back, because Rock beat him on night one last year. And I just assumed, okay, we're going to get a match between these two at some point, even if it's the following year, so that Cody can get his win back. Cody's the face of the company, and this fucking guy has a win over him. He's got to get that back. So, I mean, do you think it would play out that way, or do you, because Cody's going to be champion for a year. Do they go beyond a year, or do you feel like it's time? Because I kind of feel like it's time to get that title off of him and put him back into chase mode.
Yeah, this is where the discussion really is going to get fun tonight. And NXT just ended, and I know we're going to get a couple of hundred people in here now that NXT is over. So I'm glad you guys are joining right now, because I personally have a lot to say about this, and I've been looking forward to this. Elimination Chamber. Let's start with this Cody's decision. Is he going to say yes or no to give Rock his soul or not? Now, like you said, Jason, one of my predictions was Cody obviously is going to say no, and The Rock is going to abuse his power. He made mention of that on Friday. He's the boss. He has the final say, and I feel like when Cody says no, Rock, this is option one, Rock could abuse his power and basically leave him laying there, rock bottom, tell him he's going to meet him at WrestleMania. He's going to take the championship back. You don't want to be my champion? Fine. I'm going to be my champion, and I'm coming after the championship, and I'm gonna be the champion that this company needs. And Rock and Cody right now, tentatively, could be the match for WrestleMania Night 2 in Las Vegas. So where does that leave the Elimination Chamber? Because obviously the Elimination Chamber, the men's chamber, is leading to who wrestles Cody at WrestleMania. So if it's John Cena who wins, or CM Punk who wins, or Drew McIntyre who wins, what happens to their title shot at WrestleMania? Now, I've been fixated personally on Cena and Punk. I don't think McIntyre is going to factor into the win. He could very well factor into the win because a lot of people are saying that there was some weird interaction between Dwayne and Drew McIntyre on the January 6th episode of Raw. We all know that it was documented that Rock handed or delivered a sword to Drew McIntyre at a restaurant publicly while he signed the new WWE contract. That was a couple years ago. I don't know if they're going to play on those aspects. I don't really factor him into the decision. I'm kind of leaning towards Cena or Punk as the only two logical outcomes here. And at the end of the day, if you point a gun to my head, I'm going to go CM Punk. I think CM Punk is going to win the Elimination Chamber. And with Rock taking the answer of no from Cody and then challenging him at WrestleMania, Punk is going to be like, all right, well, what about my shot? And now you know the history between Rock and CM Punk and the dialogue between them over the years, and CM Punk already being fucked over at WrestleMania by Rock, and now it's happening again in 2025. I could see CM Punk going to Paul Heyman to take Paul Heyman and say, remember that favor? Roman Reigns, I'm going to need you to tell Roman to come back out and take care of his cousin for me because this is my main event spot. And when I get Cody in the main event of WrestleMania and win, the first person I'm going to give a WWE Championship match to is Roman Reigns. And then you set up a future program between Punk and Roman Reigns. So the favor comes into play, and Paul Heyman delivers the message to Roman Reigns. And that is the way we get Punk and Cody in the main event of WrestleMania for the WWE title, as the same time we get Rock and Roman at WrestleMania this year. What do you think about that?
I mean, I like the idea.
Okay.
I think it's an interesting idea. I could see that playing out that way. We got to remember also we have 2 nights, so
yeah,
you play with the 2 nights. You know, we talk about maybe a 3-way and turns into a multi-man match, but we have the 2 nights to play with. So you can have, and I like what they did last year, where you had the main event of night 1 led into what we saw in the main event of night 2. So they could do something very similar this year. Because honestly, I don't see Gunther and Jey Uso closing the show even on night 1.
No.
So if they have something bigger planned, then absolutely I could see it playing out that way. I had a different idea and a different take for how things may play out coming out of the chamber. You said you're going with CM Punk to win the chamber. I'm going with John Cena to win the chamber. And I think, and by no means would I put the championship on John Cena yet, but I think he wins the chamber, and Punk still has the favor from Paul Heyman. It really doesn't make sense to me if CM Punk wins the chamber and has guaranteed himself a main event spot for the title of WrestleMania. Now, the way you described it is a little bit different, where Rock is going to kind of flex his muscle. Punk has to call in the favor and promises Roman a title shot. All of that to me makes sense. But what else would the favor be if not for the main event spot at WrestleMania and or a championship match? To me, it wouldn't even make sense for the favor to be for anything else. So it makes it a little bit easier for me to buy into it if Cena wins. Punk is desperate enough where he's like, look, Paul, I'm calling in this favor. Paul is friendly with The Rock. He's got that relationship with the family. Last year, he was running around with 2 cell phones, right? One for Roman, one for The Rock. So he calls in that favor, and Punk gets added to the match at WrestleMania. And it's a 3-way match. So we have Punk, we have Cena, and we have Cody. And Rock doesn't wrestle. But Rock is still very much involved. And it all ties into this idea of, is there still going to end up being a quote-unquote corporate champion for The Rock by the time WrestleMania is over? Everybody's been talking about, what if John Cena goes heel? What if CM Punk goes heel? What if Cody goes heel? And that could be one of the questions hanging over that main event at WrestleMania. Who, if any of these 3, may go over to the dark side? Like, what's going to happen here? And then at WrestleMania, it turns out to be CM Punk, and he wins the championship. And you can, he's Rock's champion. Not that he's going to be all lovey-dovey with The Rock, but it's CM Punk in the end who ends up going over. And really, it could be anybody, but that's kind of where I see things going. and as far as how Punk cashes in his favor because he doesn't win the Chamber. And so now the only way for him to get that main event that he wants is to go to Paul and say, I need that favor.
See, that's exactly what I said on Friday when I did my stream. I have a different twist to that, though. You took the alternative route to what I said on Friday. I said Cena wins the Chamber. Rock is not involved. He's not wrestling at Mania in this scenario. Cena wins the Chamber. Punk, desperate to get to WrestleMania, goes to Heyman and cashes in the favor. Cena and Cody at that point is tentative to be the main event for Sunday. Cena cashes in that favor, and we get Cena and Punk night one, and that is the way you play into the 2-night main event, just doing what you did last year. One bleeds into the other. So he cashes in the favor. Paul Heyman goes to The Rock and gets Punk added to the main event of night one. Cena and Punk night one, closing out night one of WrestleMania. Punk wins. Punk beats Cody to win the WWE Championship. Cena, I don't want walking out of WrestleMania the WWE Champion. I think that's lame. I think we need to have him chase. I don't want to wrap that up and give him number 17 4 months into his run.
No, you got King of the Ring.
Yeah.
You got actually Money in the Bank. I think would be preferable of the two.
So Punk and Cody is the main event of night two because Punk would have beaten Cena on night one. Punk beats Cody for the WWE Championship. He becomes the corporate champion. However you want to do a corporate Punk, he's playing up and smoozing up to The Rock. Fine. So Punk is the champion. Cody's now in chase mode. And I think we build Cena as the guy who needs to take down for the right of the company and the good of the company in his final year. He wins Money in the Bank or wins King of the Ring. He gets his match at SummerSlam, and we end CM Punk's title reign this summer with Punk and Cena in the main event of SummerSlam for the WWE Championship. We crown John Cena at SummerSlam as the new WWE Champion. And if you want to go even further than that, I know you mentioned it, his final match. He enters his final match as the WWE Champion, and I could see Randy Orton beating John Cena in his final match for the WWE Championship. And Randy Orton holds the championship into next year's WrestleMania, where Cody eventually meets Randy in the main event of WrestleMania next year, and he would be in chase mode.
In both these ideas, I think we agree that Cody needs to end up in chase mode in this.
Yes.
Yeah. So any of these ideas, I think, could be fun and could work, and it basically gets you back to the same place. I don't know about the idea of doing Punk against Cena one-on-one, both at WrestleMania and then again at SummerSlam. I think we are going to get one big singles match between them this year. I don't think we get two. It's just hard for it's. And so in your scenario, you're also saying that Punk not only gets his first WrestleMania main event, he gets two of them.
Yes. Make up for lost time.
Make up for lost time. I don't see that. I don't think it's going to play out that way. But I mean, that's what's fun about, like, there's a lot of different kind of very interesting paths that this could take. I almost hope like we're not pitching ideas that end up being better than what they fucking give us in the end.
And what we get is that we're going to let ourselves down in the end. I'm like, oh man, my idea was better.
Yeah. It's going to be that's usually how it works, frankly. I'm okay with any of those scenarios. It's funny you mentioned Randy Orton. No one's really talking about him. And I think the assumption...
that's a good point.
The assumption is that it'll be him and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, but Randy Orton has been in a position, as Seth Rollins has, where he has been basically a corporate champion before, right? It goes back to the Authority days with both those guys. Maybe the reason they've kept Randy Orton off TV for so long, because it's been puzzling to me. You know, unless we see him in Toronto this weekend, it's like if he's not there either, then it just gets weird. Like, why are they holding him out? Unless he's legitimately hurt, why are they holding him out? And is the reason they're holding him out because maybe he's going to be tied into this in some way? And the point of it would be, because some people might look at it and go, well, we don't need Randy Orton in that spot. Yeah, he's the old guy and everything. Everybody we're talking about in this fucking scenario is old. The Rock is old. John Cena's about to retire. CM Punk's fucking 46 years old, 45, whatever he is. So in this situation, age doesn't really apply. Are they keeping... Randy Orton's actually probably the youngest of the bunch. Could Randy Orton end up being in that spot? And that then would tie into him taking the title from Cody. Now we got a whole program where Cody then has to chase Randy to get it back. Because we've been talking about Cody and Randy. They've stayed away from it. But we're going to get it at some point. Before Randy went away, for all those backstage segments, be him and Cody, he'd be always eyeing that title. Always had his eyes on that WWE title. So you can make that work too if Randy Orton ends up being that guy who steps in when Cody says no and then Cody drops the belt ultimately, either to him or has to chase him to get it back. A lot of people, I don't think enough people are talking about Randy Orton in this scenario.
I mentioned him last night, too, as just a little asterisk, because I said last week, and we've been discussing the Randy Orton situation for a little bit here on the show. Randy Orton, for all we know, is watching at home, and he's looking at Kevin Owens and seeing Cody Rhodes and everything developing, and you think that Randy Orton's going to come back and target Kevin Owens, but Randy Orton may come back and realize that Kevin Owens has been right all along, and he ends up siding in the fight alongside Kevin Owens against people like Cody Rhodes. He comes back and becomes the corporate champion for The Rock. Now, how do you play him into the whole Chamber outcome, Jason? Do you add him to a triple threat match at WrestleMania? What happens and who wins the Chamber? And then how do you get Randy Orton involved there? Because I do like that idea as well, and I think a lot of people really need to start thinking about him as a potential in this situation.
Well, I mean, that's the only thing, because we do have this Chamber match coming up. I mean, look, The Rock is going to be there on Saturday. Let's assume his segment with Cody and Cody rejecting him is coming in the middle of the show. Who's to say that somebody doesn't end up getting bounced out of the Chamber? And we have an open pod, and The Rock's not going to go in there, but then Randy Orton returns, right? And it was all part of some kind of sinister plan. I mean,
yeah,
you could play it out that way too. Now, who would get bounced from the Chamber though? Who would make the most sense that they would remove if somebody was going to get bounced out of that match? Priest
or McIntyre, I would assume. Unfortunately, McIntyre.
Really, McIntyre? Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say either Priest or Paul, but well, we haven't even talked about the possibility of Logan Paul being handpicked by The Rock to be.
He's already corporate though. Why would you make him even more corporate?
Well, I mean, Cody isn't corporate. I said this on Friday.
He's like a fucking presidential candidate out there.
He's the most corporate champion they've had in years. He's a lot more corporate than Roman Reigns ever was. Like, he sleeps in his suits probably. He's out there every week kissing babies and taking pictures, and he's like the quintessential corporate champion. Like, this whole notion of Rock, we're using the word corporate, but like the notion that Rock would even need a champion like that is kind of laughable, in a way. A lot of people are comparing it to when The Rock went corporate back in '98, but that made sense, because what was the whole point of that? It wasn't even about The Rock so much. It was about Vince wanting that title off of Austin.
Yeah.
Because Austin was just the antithesis of everything that he expected in a world champion. So he had to get the belt off of him, and The Rock was that guy. So it made sense. In this case, I don't know why Rock would have any reason to be upset with Cody other than the fact that, and he did bring this up in his promo, basically in so many words, he said, you fucked me out of what would have been the biggest match of all time between me and Roman Reigns. So there's some subtle, or maybe not so subtle, anger there. Maybe he blames Cody, right? It's all your fault. All these people could have gotten the biggest match of WrestleMania history were it not for you and the Cody crybabies. So, I mean, he kind of mentioned that in the promo on Friday, but that would be the only way as far as getting Orton involved directly in this, would be to have him replace somebody in the Chamber and make a surprise return on Saturday. Otherwise, I don't know how you get him involved in that main event picture going into Mania.
Orton is a possibility. He's definitely a dark horse in that fantasy booking scenario.
It is, but he is. But the thing is, like, the funny thing is, if you really look at who's in the Chamber, we're talking about Punk and we're talking about Cena, because those are really the most, like, potentially interesting options if either of them were to either go heel or be heelish or something like that. It's the other guys in the match that make more sense. If you think about it, Drew McIntyre would make all the sense in the world, even though Rock is part of the Bloodline and he doesn't like the Bloodline. McIntyre would make the most sense. Rollins, like, I don't care what he said on TV last night. I don't trust that guy. Like Cody said,
that's another option. I mean, how likely is Rollins to go corporate? I mean, he's done it before.
But that's the thing. I don't want to see that again.
Me neither.
Like, to me, it would make sense, but it would be lame because it's already been done.
Well, I don't want to see Cena either. I mean, I don't think Cena going heel in his final year is the right way to go. I mean, if he was going to turn heel, they would have done it already. Not.
But it would be far more interesting. I don't want to see it either, and I realistically don't think it happens. But you got to admit, like, it would be more interesting than just having Rollins go corporate.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, McIntyre makes a lot of sense too, but I don't think McIntyre is as interesting as the other names, and he doesn't really present interesting situations like the other guys.
Well, also, I don't think it doesn't work as well if it's an existing heel.
Yeah.
I almost feel like for the shock factor of it, you would want it to be someone that you would least expect or an existing babyface, because McIntyre is already a heel. So it's like, oh, I'll be your corporate champion. It's like, yeah, of course. It doesn't have the same punch as it would if it were a Punk or a Cena or an Orton.
I think I'm sticking with Punk, man. I don't know. I think we get Punk. I have a feeling it's going to end up being Punk. And I think whatever he said, did you take away from whatever he said last night? He said, I am the devil himself, or I am Satan himself. Did you take anything out of that as being a foreshadowing of what's to come?
I did. And that's not the first time he has said that. He made a similar line at some point last year during the feud with McIntyre. He said something to the effect of, I'm the devil.
Yeah.
So this is actually like this, at least the second time that he's made a comment like that. I don't think those things are by accident. So either they want you to think that, and it was put in there on purpose to throw you off, or it is a foreshadowing of something that we're going to be seeing down the road.
Chamber is going to be very, very interesting to watch, guys. I love this aspect of it. This is what I feel like. I always say this is what I feel is missing from AEW television. There's not enough dissecting. There's not enough fantasy booking. There's not enough discussion. It's just like match, outcome. I love so many different roads could lead to where we get to WrestleMania, man. I love it. And it's going to be an unbelievable night.
Including Cody.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, it's going to be a Cody Rhodes for sure. And Jason and I are going to be live on Saturday night covering it all. And it's going to be a very, very big night for the Chamber.
We may as well do our predictions for the show.
I got it right here. I got it all queued up. Let's we talk about the man. Now I'm going Cena. I'm going Punk. You going Cena?
I'm going Cena.
All right. So there you go. We'll
see. Cena was my first. When Cena lost the Rumble, I said he's going to win the Chamber. So I'm going to stick with that.
All right. We'll see. Ladies, we got Roxanne Perez, Alexa Bliss. We have Naomi, Liv Morgan, who's the new WWE Tag Team Champion, alongside Raquel Rodriguez, Bayley, and Bianca Belair. This is the Women's Elimination Chamber match. The winner of this gets Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, depending on the outcome on Monday's Raw, for the WWE Women's World Championship. I know Jason last week created a very topical discussion about Liv Morgan potentially winning the Chamber on Saturday, and he does make a lot of sense in that. I'm not sure if he's sticking with that, but I'm sticking with mine. I'm going Bianca Belair, Jason.
When I did my predictions yesterday, or Sunday, I said, I got to put a little star next to it. Said, I'm picking Liv Morgan, but if she and Raquel win the tag team titles on Raw, I'm switching to Bianca. And sure enough, they won the tag team titles last night. I'm going with Bianca Belair. And I still feel Naomi is going to be the culprit as far as the whole Jade Cargill thing. I was a little surprised they didn't have her there or do the reveal last night.
It almost felt like a setup for it to happen last night. They didn't do it.
Well, because they spent so much time in the video package heading into the match focusing on the Jade story. So I figured it was building to something. I think what they wanted to do was get the titles off of them first. And I would not at all be shocked to see Jade on the show this Saturday.
Yeah.
If not this Saturday, by next week at the latest. I think we'll see her back on TV. What I can envision here is a scenario where it comes down to Bianca and Naomi. And Bianca wins. And then we get a Naomi heel turn. And because Naomi in the end is going to be revealed as the attacker, the only question is, does the heel turn happen on Saturday? Does it happen on TV next week? But I think it comes down to those two. Bianca wins. In the end, it'll be Jade going off with Naomi. Somebody wrote into my podcast this weekend with an idea where, could it be that Naomi is not the only one, but maybe this is a way for them to call up the metaphor, and you have Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, and they were a part of it, and then Naomi kind of has her own little crew. So instead of it being one person who attacked Jade, it was kind of all of them. I could see that. If they wanted to call them up full time, that would be one way to do that. But I got to stick with Naomi as far as like the culprit, picking Bianca to win the Chamber. And that way Bianca could go off and have her title match, and Jade and Naomi can kind of have their blow off.
It's pretty bold to have Bianca and Naomi as the final two. I would figure you would have said Naomi is eliminated because I know they've done this scenario back in the day a couple of times in the chamber where someone's eliminated, the door's open, they got to exit, and then someone else comes in. And I figured Jade would be that person to come on in and beat the shit out of Naomi. And then she ends up getting eliminated because whoever's in the chamber would actually pick apart Naomi and get the pin there. Do you see something like that playing out? She reveals herself to get revenge in the chamber match itself?
I'm going to say no. I mean, it could. It could. And we've seen that before. That's true. We saw that, I think, was it last year or the year before with Logan Paul?
Yeah.
And Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Like when the doors opened. I mean, we've seen that multiple times.
Yeah, he got RKO'd and then took it out on him and eliminated Randy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, no, it's certainly possible. I don't think it's going to play out that way. I do think Jade will be there. I think if I had to make a prediction on that, I'm going to say she does make an appearance in some form at the chamber. But, I mean, clearly we're going to get her back in the next, if not Saturday, then the next Friday. But Bianca, the question then, of course, is do we end up with just Bianca and Rhea at WrestleMania? Or do we have an outcome in that match that is sort of undecided next Monday? And somehow Io works her way in and we get a triple threat. And which would you prefer? Would you prefer Rhea and Bianca straight up, one-on-one, or that Io find her way in there? Because otherwise, I kind of feel like Io is just going to be relegated to like a women's tag team title match.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it's going to be a triple threat. I would prefer a one-on-one between Bianca and Rhea. I think we're going to get a triple threat with Io added, and I think it's going to be great. As far as what the tag team championship match is going to be, I think Io being involved with the women's championship itself is the right move. I think Liv and Raquel are going to defend the championships against Alexa and Nikki Cross. That's my prediction. I think the Wyatt Six are going to come into play over the next 7 weeks, and I think we're going to get a tag team title match with those four.
Well, we've been getting the glitches every time Alexa's on TV. So obviously there's going to be something going on there with her and the Wyatt Six, who we haven't seen still, by the way, since they got moved over to SmackDown. Alexa's in the chamber too, but again, the fact that she just got moved from Raw to SmackDown and SmackDown is her new home, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me if she's going to end up challenging for the Raw Championship and then be back on Raw for the next 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't really see it playing out that way. I do worry, and look, I'm all for a Rhea Bianca match. I've been hoping to get this match at WrestleMania for a few years now. I do worry, is there enough time to really build up a proper story between these two if you just go from post-chamber to Mania? Because you'll have about 6 or 7 weeks. Does it deserve something longer? Is this something that they would be better off, let's say, kind of starting to build later in the summer or the fall? Little hints of it, however they want to do it, and then build to New Orleans next year. Because, I've thought about that too, as much as I'd love to see the match this year. Will they be able to give it the build that a match like that deserves?
6 weeks is more than enough time to fulfill what you're asking for. Absolutely. Do I think they are going to do that? No, I don't. I don't think they're going to give them any substantial story. In fact, if it is a triple threat match, I'm going with Io winning the title at WrestleMania. That's my bold prediction. I think we move on from Rhea. Even
though they just put the belt back on Rhea in January?
I for some reason, there's got to be a method to the madness about why Io has been shafted. She wrestled Liv on December 14th. She won that battle royal before that in Saudi. I mean, she's just come up short so many different times, and she's been in these situations. I just feel like
super over.
And she's over. I just feel like they're ready to crown her. I don't know how everybody else feels, but that's just the way I feel.
No, I'm all for it. Yeah. I'm all for it because look, Rhea doesn't need the title.
No,
I mean, if she loses the championship, it's not like she's lost her power source and nobody's going to care about Rhea Ripley anymore. So I'm on board as far as doing a title change and putting it on Io. I'm fine with that. But yeah, I do worry a little bit about whether or not they would take the time to build that properly, and if they wouldn't be better off holding off on it. But Rhea against Io in some kind of rematch, or Rhea against Bianca, either of those I'm totally on board with. When I look at the other women in the chamber, Alexa, I'm not saying she's not over, but Alexa, Bayley, Roxanne, like none of these other matches do anything for me against Rhea.
No,
honestly.
me too. Me too.
And Liv, obviously, that whole situation is played out. So it's Io or Bianca or both. But for the Chamber, Io's not in there. So I'm going with Bianca.
Yeah, we'll wait till Monday to see when she, wrestles Rhea, what we get officially confirmed, if it's going to be a fuck finish, if it's going to be just Rhea outright winning and getting Bianca at WrestleMania. If it is a triple threat match, I'm going Io. If it is a one-on-one match, I'm going Rhea, and I think they're going to keep it on Rhea. The thing is, if it is a triple threat match, I'm going Io winning the championship as compared to the other women's championship match. I may sound like a fool here, but I just can't see them pulling the trigger on the reactions that we've been getting. There's no feasible way that Tiffany Stratton can lose that championship to Charlotte Flair. So if Io wins the championship, I'm thinking the other title stays on Tiffany. This guy's gonna laugh at me. Watch.
I'm already laughing at you. I mean, as if you haven't learned your lesson over the years. I thought you were smarter than that, but apparently not.
Listen, man, I got to go against the grain. I can't see them putting the title back on her with all the reactions she's getting. SmackDown is boring already. Look at what that's going to do.
What reactions? What reactions? I saw a SmackDown show on Friday where Tiffany Stratton was out there getting less reaction than I've seen her getting in months. Which is not to say that she doesn't get reactions every week on other shows.
New Orleans wasn't really all that hot on Friday. Come on.
The part of the problem is she hasn't evolved her character at all. She still comes out and acts like a heel. She talks like a heel. She acts like a heel. And at some point, because now she's been champion for a little bit, at some point you have to just kind of evolve things a little bit, whether it's your speaking style or the way you're addressing the crowd, the way you carry yourself. I think that's part of the problem. She's still over. I'm not saying she's not over, but there has to be some sort of evolution there, and she really hasn't undergone that change yet. But I noticed it like on Friday, like the reaction once she was in the ring and speaking, it just wasn't. It wasn't what you would expect. And frankly, I just didn't think that the promo was all that great to begin with. This match at WrestleMania, you mean to tell me that you can't see this being a situation, because they know it'll get tremendous heat, if Charlotte, of all people, takes that title away from Tiffany, right, who just won it a few months ago. You don't think they would do that and have Tiffany in chase mode for a few months, get another couple of matches out of it, have her win the belt back? I'm not even saying they have to wait all the way until SummerSlam. Can you let me live
in peace for the next 6 weeks, please?
No, actually I won't. I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen. That's my job.
I don't want to think about this, man. Why? Part of the reason is, yes, you are correct. I think the whole presentation is definitely off. She needs a little bit more, for lack of better terms, a little bit more intensity, ballsy promo against Charlotte especially. But Charlotte's overlooked her for the last 2 weeks. She's been looking down at her. Tiffany's been on the mat, first with the chair 2 weeks ago, and then this week holding the championship up
Yeah, but WrestleMania is still, it's 8 weeks away.
You can't do that to your challenger, though. It doesn't matter if it's fucking 18 weeks away.
It's 8 weeks away. It's 8 weeks away. I mean, they have 8 weeks. For all we know, we get to April, and Tiffany is outsmarting her. Tiffany's getting, she's getting a leg up on her. Her laying her out on TV last week means nothing to WrestleMania. Like, the match was just made. So I wouldn't look at that as meaning anything. That's not evidence of anything.
Well, Tiffany,
now talk to me in 2 months. Talk to me in 2 months, because in 2 months, if Charlotte Flair is still laying out Tiffany Stratton, then I would say, boy, yeah, this would really fuck Tiffany Stratton over if they send her to WrestleMania and they beat her, right? But we're not there yet.
Tiffany says she wants to be the top girl on SmackDown. You are the top girl. You're the champion. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't understand the lines that they're feeding these women. It's like, it's ridiculous. All because Charlotte
it's like The Rock. But just like The Rock. He's like, I want you to be my champion. Cody's been WWE champion for almost a year. But it's not about being the WWE champion, apparently. It's about being Rock's champion. I want you to be my champion. And Cody is so conflicted about that. Seth was right, by the way, on Raw last night when he said, I'm offended that you didn't smack him in the face that night. Like, the fact that you're even agonizing over this decision, I find offensive to me. After what I did for you last year, I put my body on the line for you. I was your shield, and you're contemplating this? Like, you're mulling this over? Right? But it's like, again, so it's about Rock, my champion. Charlotte Flair, yes, Tiffany is the champion, but like, Charlotte's the queen bee, right? You may be the champion, but you're no Charlotte Flair. It's like there's the champion, and then she's in this kind of rarefied air that nobody else can be in. It's the way it's always been, though.
Yeah,
Shouldn't be surprised by this.
We need to put an end to that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but they're not going to. This is how it is.
I don't know.
This is how it is. And by the way, she missed, what was it, 14 months?
Yeah.
She has 14 titles, is it, or 13?
I think it's 14.
They got some catching up to do. They got to pad that resume a little bit to get her closer to 16.
Well,
you don't think they're putting that title on her?
Tell me one reign that you remember that was memorable.
Well, I remember when she ended Asuka's undefeated streak. I remember that.
No, nobody wants to talk about that. That upset people too.
Yeah. As far as like a reign of hers that's memorable, I can't think of one in particular.
Okay.
It's part of the problem when you have fucking 14 of them. They all sort of blend together. Look, if you asked me the same question about John Cena, honestly, I remember his U.S. title open challenge run. But if you ask me, is there a WWE championship or a world heavyweight championship run of his that really is like stands out to you? Not really. I mean, I know he got hurt and that ended a run. He was on a run. He was champion for a while, like well over a year, and he got hurt. I remember that. But there's no run that really stands out to me.
Are you saying we need to give Charlotte Flair a Roman Reigns 4-year run?
That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I have no interest. Honestly, I have no interest seeing anybody get a Roman Reigns run. We already had a Roman Reigns run. Wait, I don't need to see another one, male or female. Not for a while. You got to put like a 5-year moratorium on that.
This discussion is not giving me the mana. I think we should move on.
You're not feeling the mana?
No, I'm not feeling the mana talking about Charlotte Flair. No, it's 18 title runs.
I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
Chamber, we got Bianca and I got Cena. Not Cena, Punk. This guy's got Bianca and Cena. I got Punk and Bianca. So that's those are the two Chamber matches. Plus, we got Cody's soul on the line with Dwayne on Saturday. We got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, unsanctioned. I'm liking this. I thought the back and forth between both of them going from Monday into Friday. We got Kevin Owens stalking Sami's family outside his front door. And Sami Zayn last night talking about how he went to Kevin Owens' house for the same reason, but he wasn't home. And Mama Owens was home. And he walked in and she welcomed him in. And everything is good. And he went there with nefarious things on the mind. And he felt bad. He looked in the mirror and said, this is not the type of guy that I am. This is not the Sami that everybody knows. How you feeling about this, Jason? I'm pretty excited about this.
I thought that promo last night was excellent. I mean, the emotion, his tears were like welled up and he was talking. You could read like the pain on his face as he was talking about it. So I thought the sit down interview was great. I thought the video that Owens sent in last week was perfectly creepy. He's been great, honestly, this whole run ever since he went heel again. So yeah, I'm amped up for it. We know what we're going to get between these two. You add in the unsanctioned stipulation, it's going to be a wild match. I don't know if they're going to try to match the insanity of some of their past matches, like even outside of WWE, because they've had some pretty crazy fucking matches over the years. But if we get anything close to that, it's going to be a lot of fun. And the only question is this going to be one and done, or is this only the setup to an official match at WrestleMania? And if so, where does Randy Orton, if at all, fit into the equation here? We were talking about Orton possibly being involved in that top storyline. I still think it's more likely he ends up against Kevin Owens. So are we going to see a Randy Orton appear? I think we are.
Yeah, me too.
I think we're going to see because it's unsanctioned and anything goes. So I think Randy Orton will be there. I think Randy Orton will provide the assist to Sami Zayn. I know some people are not going to like the idea of Owens losing again after he just lost to Cody and he's coming off a few losses. But I do think that would then set up the match for Mania with Owens and Zayn, or I'm sorry, Owens and Orton. And Sami Zayn still has, a potential match hanging out there with Karrion Kross. Is that a WrestleMania match or is that going to be a TV match?
I think Sami belongs on WrestleMania. I don't know how everybody else feels.
He'll be there. I'm not saying he won't be on the card. I'm just saying Zayn and Kross, do you see them doing that as a WrestleMania match? This would be huge for Karrion Kross. Be the biggest match of his career.
I would say yes. Do we see Kross on Saturday in the unsanctioned match?
No.
Okay.
No. We either see Orton or we see nobody.
I'm going Sami Zayn to beat Kevin Owens, unsanctioned.
So am I.
Okay. Going to be a great match. Toronto's going to be rocking and rolling. Last time Sammy was in Toronto, he wrestled Roman Reigns. And you know the crowd that was there for the WWE title match between them two. I'm expecting not as hot as that was, but somewhere close to that for sure.
Well, you got two Canadians, so it'd be very interesting if Owens gets any cheers. I think he's been perfectly like creepy and heelish enough, and people love Sammy where Canadian or not, I think Owens will, he'll get a heel reaction, I think, coming out. So I'm not thinking it's going to be 50-50 or anything like that. But because they are both from Canada, that factors into it too. I think the crowd's going to be just fucking rabid for this match.
Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. This was only done because Trish is Canadian and they need another match to fill this very, very uneventful card. I'm going Tiffany and Trish over Nia and Candice. I mean, any emotional investment in this one?
No. No.
As I suspected.
No emotional investment. I'm actually disappointed that they didn't have Tiffany defend the title. Because we know there's a rematch coming with Nia. We know that.
Yeah.
We had a DQ finish in their last match. Nia's still talking about how I'm going to go to WrestleMania, so they'll just do it on TV at some point. But you already don't have Rhea Ripley defending her championship. I figured we get a women's championship match at least, and then they chose to do a tag match. But, they wanted to get Trish on the show. And not that they need to be worried that Tiffany's going to get anything other than cheered, but like it guarantees you're going to get a great reaction if you're teaming up in Toronto with Trish Stratus.
Yeah, and that's going to be a good reaction for sure.
Yeah, I don't see them beating them either. I don't see Trish getting beat in Toronto. If this were Vince, I think go for the heat, right? It's almost guaranteed that Trish would probably lose.
Yeah, he was all about taking somebody and having them embarrassed
in their hometown. Yes, in their hometown. Yeah. Although Trish in her retirement match, right, that was in Toronto and she won.
Who was that again?
She won, I believe, Lita. Right, that was back in 2006. Yeah, one of the rare occasions where something like that happened. I think Tiffany and Trish for the win, or as Tiffany is calling them, was it Tiffy and Trishy?
Yeah. I like the sound of that.
Do you?
Yeah. I don't like the sound of this match, but I like the sound of that. There's only 4 matches on this card, folks. Cody and Rock is going to be as if it's a match because it's going to be at least 30 minutes. So you're wondering why there's not a 5th match added. That's why.
Got to give the Rock time. I mean, they know Rock is going to take his sweet time. So it's like, can we add a 5th match? Like, Rock's on the show. Well, I guess we're not going to do that.
He'll repeat himself about 4 different fucking times in the same promo. That's
right. That's right. Talk about the Mana. Yeah, talk about Terramana.
Yeah.
Talk about Moana.
Yeah.
A lot of Anas.
Talk about his, have you ever used his shampoo, Papa Tui? He's got a men's line, shampoo, deodorant.
I thought you were joking.
No, I use the shampoo.
He's got a shampoo. He's got no hair.
I use it every day.
Okay. I think it's kind of weird. He's got no hair and he's got a shampoo line. You would think that you would want somebody who can really kind of vouch for
How do you think I keep this long flowing hair nice and vibrant? Papa Tui.
Well, you got this 60 pounds of grease in there too. Don't forget about that. Fucking oil slick like Bret Hart used to have, right?
Oh man,
I'm sitting there sometimes at House of Glory. I'm sitting there doing commentary. I look down on my fucking suit pants, and it's like I got 20 pounds of grease, sitting on my leg because this guy's bouncing back and forth.
Oh, give me a break, man. Let's move on to some AEW. Elimination Chamber Saturday. Like I said, Jason and I are going to be live on our respective channels. It's going to be a big night. Very newsworthy evening. Can't wait to share it with you guys. Just like we're sharing this show with you guys tonight. We got 3,000, actually, it's 2,900. Just close to 3,000 people in here. We got 821 likes. If we could get that up to 1,000, that would be great. And super chats are open, so make sure
if you can get it up to 1,000, I'm pretty sure we'll be feeling the mana.
Yes, we want to feel the mana. So 1,000 likes is the goal. Little AEW news here. We have officially moved Double or Nothing from Las Vegas. AEW confirmed this week that Double or Nothing is now moving out of Vegas, and they are moving it to the Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, Arizona on Sunday, May 25th. This marks the first time the show will be held outside of Vegas in history, aside from the Jacksonville, Florida pandemic shows in 20 and 21. And AEW has confirmed this via their social media. So right now we have March 9th Revolution at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. We have April 6th, AEW Dynasty in Philadelphia. May 25th, obviously, Double or Nothing. July 12th, All In, Texas Globe Life Field in Arlington. And then August 24th, Forbidden Door in the United Kingdom. AEW has not revealed the rest of their pay-per-view calendar because, as we reported last week on TNT, they're keeping it very secretive so that they don't get the WWE to step on their toes for their remaining pay-per-view shows this year. Jason, how do you feel about Double or Nothing moving out of Vegas? I do think that they bled the area dry. The attendance was declining year over year. I personally don't like the holiday-themed shows, honestly. Memorial Day, 4th of July. We're getting the same thing here, but I think a different scenery, a different place for the show is going to do very well for them.
I think just for no other reason. I mean, you've got 2 nights of WrestleMania in Vegas the month before.
Yeah.
And it's going to be WrestleMania fever and that's going to just eat up so much oxygen. I know this is a month later, but I think it's good. This was the year to do it, and they're not that far away. I mean, they're going from Nevada to Arizona. It's not like they're going from Nevada to New York. Although I would like to see them bring a Double or Nothing to Atlantic City at some point.
I think that would be great.
I think that would make a lot of sense. It would be something completely different. Maybe they'll do that next year. So no, I think it's fine. I don't remember how the crowd was last year, if they were, loud or dead. I just don't remember offhand if the crowd was not really reacting. I saw some people complaining about that. I don't recall. I think it's fine. I mean, I think it's fine to get a change of scenery, and I don't know the size of this building relative to where they ran Double or Nothing before. Is it a smaller venue?
I haven't looked up the attendance.
The Desert
figures.
Diamond Arena?
I could look that up right now. I did ask, though, some of the people in the chat during the live stream on Wednesday if Glendale, Arizona had casinos. And they said, yes, we have casinos over here. Desert Diamond Arena. Let's see. Capacity. We'll ask Grok. Desert Diamond Arena. We are finding an answer here. 19,000 people.
Oh, well, okay then. That's NBA size building there.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're not going to get 19,000 people, but hopefully they can hit double digits. That would be a respectable crowd if they can get around that.
Well, listen, Phoenix, weren't they? Where were they Wednesday? They were in Phoenix this past Wednesday?
Yes.
For Dynamite. That was a great crowd.
Yeah, it was a great crowd. Yeah.
So hopefully.
And the way they have it, like lit up recently.
Yeah.
Because remember, they had those shows where everything was like dark. And I know why they did that, because there was nobody there. So, WWE's done that in past years also, where you could just tell, like, okay, why is it so dark? Well, because there's nobody sitting there. So they've made improvements. I like the fact they're running smaller venues. Look, NXT tonight, I believe, was running the Music Hall in Cincinnati, which is the same venue that AEW ran when they had Moxley against Hobbs for the championship.
That was a nice arena.
Yeah, they were there tonight, apparently, for NXT. I like that venue.
Yeah. That's
so,
cool.
for like the weekly shows, I think I'd like to see them run more venues like that. For the pay-per-views, they generally do well, I think, attendance-wise for these pay-per-views. If they don't hit 10 or 11,000, they're pretty close. So it's a different market. Maybe it'll be helpful to them. Maybe they'll be able to sell more tickets because they haven't run this into the ground. I mean, they went through that period where they were running Chicago. It felt like monthly. Yeah, you got to spread the wealth around a little bit.
Well, yeah, that's why I feel like moving it out of Las Vegas is a great move for them, just based on that alone. But you make a good point with the WrestleMania show happening just a month before. You don't want to bleed that entire fucking area dry. Like if you're given one option, WrestleMania or Double or Nothing, I know which one I'm going to.
And if you're going to WrestleMania, it's not going to be cheap.
No.
So it's a situation where there are people maybe who are fans of both companies who might want to go to both shows. But if you have the option and you're going to WrestleMania, you may not be able to afford to go to Double or Nothing. That's why I said it makes sense if they were going to move it, even just for 1 year, this would be the year to do it.
It seems like they're definitely reshuffling things this year as they're not going to do All In the United Kingdom this year, but they're doing Forbidden Door there. So who's to say they may be in Vegas later this year for something? Who the fuck knows? So they're constantly reshuffling things, but I do think it's a good move for Double or Nothing to at least get out of Vegas for 1 year. And I'm excited about that, as I am Revolution. Revolution is shaping up to be a fucking great card. And I know I myself have been a little critical of the product. Last couple of weeks have been very good. Collision's been good. Dynamite's been good. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, you look at the Revolution card right now. We got Moxley and Cope for the AEW Championship. I don't really care, but hopefully we are one step closer to ending this Death Riders bullshit. So that's the World Championship match. We have Ricochet and Swerve potentially taking place on that show. Adam Page and MJF taking place on that show.
Tony Storm
and Mariah May. That's already announced. The grand Hollywood finale there. Mercedes versus Momo's taking place. I mean, we got a banger show coming up. So good on them. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and it's an incomplete card. We don't even know what other matches might be at. We know Omega is going to be wrestling for the international title.
Yeah, Omega and Takeshita, and then Fletcher versus Ospreay for the steel cage match.
Well, I mean, you assume that Takesha's not going to lose to Orange Cassidy tomorrow night. How do you know?
How do I know?
You don't know.
How do I know, man?
You forgot the most important match of all.
Which was what?
Which I don't think it's been officially announced, but it's been rumored for a while because he said it on a podcast somewhere last month. Big Boom AJ is supposed to make his in-ring return from his broken foot, assuming he's recovered. He had made a comment last month, I think, to Cultaholic, that he was having early conversations with AEW, and it sounded like Revolution. He'd probably be back and have a match. So AEW hasn't announced anything official, but that apparently was in the plans at some point. We could get the Costco guys back at Revolution.
Double chocolate chunk cookies.
Yeah.
You
hey,
know,
look,
you know who I think he's going to wrestle?
I had a okay, well, you tell me who you think he's going to wrestle.
He's going to beat Max Caster. That's who he's beating.
That's exactly what I said on my show.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, though, like, Caster's been doing the open challenge. Don't you think, like, the open challenge, it has to pay off with Anthony Bowens?
No, I think they're just going to embarrass him.
But do you not think Anthony Bowens at some point will not answer the challenge?
Oh, of course he will, and he will, and Caster will lose.
Yeah. No, but I said the same thing. Yeah, I think he's been doing the open challenge gimmick, which has been entertaining, and I think that that would make a lot of it. Probably would still end up on the pre-show. Which is probably where it belongs. But if he has a match on that show, I could definitely see it being Max Caster. Yeah, for sure. I was entertained by the match that he had with QT Marshall. What was it? Was it Full Gear that they did the match?
Yeah.
I thought it was exactly what it needed to be. I thought it was fun. It was on the pre-show, wasn't on the main card. It didn't take away from anything. It was a very basic pro wrestling 101 match. QT gets a lot of credit for that. Nobody is going to mistake that for a match of the year contender. But if they can keep it to something like that and tie it into the Max Caster gimmick, I think it could be very entertaining.
Yeah, as long as they keep it to the pre-show and don't waste too much TV time on Revolution build for Big Boom AJ.
I just don't know if this time they would have the Rizzler back.
Of course he's going to be back. Everybody loves the Rizzler.
Well, apparently he got injured last time.
Doing what? What? He got injured? Doing what?
Well, he was the guest timekeeper, and I guess the way he rang the bell, I think he hurt his hand.
He's on the disabled list for an injured hand because he rang the bell inappropriately?
Well, I would assume he's recovered by now. All the cookies, they've given him his energy back. He's all healed up, but apparently he was injured last time. But yet he finished the match though. He sat there. Remember, every time they cut to him, he had that look. He would go like this. He had it down pat. Like, he's a worker, that kid.
You mean he didn't get injured eating a chicken bake?
No, apparently not. Apparently he got injured on Tony Khan's watch. I hope they paid his medical bills.
Oh man, listen, Big Boom AJ, you gotta love it, man. As long as they keep it away from me, I'm fine. Just make it a pre-show match, and then I think all will be all right. The chat loves their double chocolate chip cookies.
Well, again, we'll see. They haven't made anything official yet. Hopefully his foot is healing well, but yes, we may possibly see him on that show.
The Hurt Syndicate versus what's their name? Brian Cage and Lance Archer. The Murder Machines. Yeah, that's gonna be a match too.
TV match or Revolution match?
I would say Revolution. They can't be less than 11 matches on this show.
I figure 13.
Yeah, well, hopefully they move it to TV and we get about 7 or 8 quality matches. But I mean, that's wishful thinking there. But yes, AEW television's been good. Speaking of good, Mike Bailey finally arrived in AEW. We got a vignette on Saturday's Collision. He finished up with TNT Wrestling in late October. His deal ran through the end of the year. Fightful's told that there was interest from WWE, but his official landing spot is in AEW. How you feeling about Mike Bailey in AEW, Jason? He is a very good pro wrestler. I think that goes without saying, but where exactly does he fit in the sea of other great pro wrestlers that AEW currently employs?
Collision.
Okay.
At least to begin, probably Collision. I think that the way to work it with him is to kind of just slowly introduce him to the people. I think most of their audience knows who he is. But for the people who don't, just kind of slowly introduce him in. Let him go out there, win some matches, and, show off his offense. And then just, from there, you just come up with different kind of small stories for him, programs, people for him to work with to build him up either to international title status, TNT title status, a very basic build. That's kind of the way that I would say you would build up most people. But the key with him is the same as I say for Powerhouse Hobbs and Big Bill and all these different people. The key is going to be getting him consistent television time, especially because you're introducing somebody new. So especially for the people who don't know who he is and what he really brings to the table, it's going to be very important to have him visible on that show every week. I don't know promo-wise. I don't know what kind of promo he really is. I don't know character and personality-wise, if they have him doing backstage segments, how he'll do there. I know of Mike Bailey primarily from his in-ring work, right? And probably the same way with you. And we've had the chance to call some of his matches, and he's very innovative, the things he does. He's a very fun performer to watch in the ring. What I'm curious to see, because I wasn't following the entirety of his TNA run, I know some of the key matches he had with Josh Alexander and people like that. That great stuff. On the character end and the promo end, that's what I'm curious to see what we get from him on TV and how much time they're able to devote to him. But I think that's what I personally am looking for to see. Is there more there than I know of?
I don't know. I could see a TNT title in his future. I mean, Danny Garcia's not really doing much with that title. I could see that title.
Yeah, not right away.
Yeah, not right away.
No.
Yeah.
But he's somebody who would thrive when obviously the end of the year. We're talking about the end of the year, but in a Continental Classic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like absolutely right up his alley.
Yeah, absolutely. Being that he'll be on Collision. I mean, we'll get the dream matches of Speedball Mike Bailey versus Hologram and Beast Mortos.
More toast.
More toast, yeah.
Yeah.
I like more toast, especially with a side of butter.
Some jelly.
Some jelly, yeah. Yeah, Mike Bailey's coming in. It's gonna be good. Again, it's a crapshoot. You don't know how they're gonna fare. I'm sure they'll be great for the first few weeks, and then everybody just kind of settles into this role on AEW television. But they got so much talent that anybody would die to have a fucking 1/100th of their roster. So Tony's obviously got a great roster. He's just got so many names and so many talents. He doesn't know what to do with them. He can't find TV time for all of them. So hopefully Mike Bailey kind of cuts through that mold there. Speaking of talent, Hook has hired Barry Bloom to represent him ahead of future contract negotiations. Now, we just talked about Barry Bloom with Josh Alexander, and Josh Alexander hired him in contract negotiations. It was said that Bloom actually signed Hook several months ago, but the news is just coming out now, according to PWInsider.com. AEW is expected to make sure Hook remains with the company. Bloom represents Kenny Omega, Josh Alexander, Jim Ross, the Elite. So Hook debuted in AEW in 2020, part of Team Taz, aligning himself with his father, alongside Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs. He held the FTW Championship for a significant period of time. In the summer of 23, he feuded with Jack Perry over that title. He later regained the title after losing it in August of 2023, only to retire it by giving it to his father in September. And now he's aligned with Samoa Joe and Katsuyori Shibata, known as the Ops in the trios. I don't know, man. I don't know if Taz or what Taz is thinking or how Taz is feeling. Hook has got something good right now, substantial with Samoa Joe. I like it. I'm not a big fan of Shibata, but I like the pairing of Hook and Samoa Joe. I think they would be a dominating tag team in that division, a team that is definitely needed in that division. But as a trio, they could still work tag teams if they want to do. But I like that pairing. So for the time being, I think Hook stays with AEW. I think he's very young enough to still learn and be molded into a future star in AEW. I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, he's better off in NXT. I'm going to say I think he stays with AEW here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking the same. I can't get in his head, so I don't know, what he's being told or what he's feeling. But I think that because we are, and we're already seeing it, there's going to be kind of a new wave of talent coming in, some from AEW into NXT. I don't know if that might work against Hook, if he would be featured in a prominent role right out of the gate. So probably better for him to continue doing what he's doing now. How old is he right now at the moment?
What is he, 21?
No, he's older than that. Let me see. He is young though, so I mean he's got plenty of time to make whatever decision he wants to make about ultimately where he wants to end up. Let me see here. Hook.
25.
Yeah.
Wow, I thought he was younger than that.
No.
Wow.
No, I knew he wasn't that young.
I might be thinking of what's his name in the Patriarchy, Nick Wayne.
Oh, Nick Wayne. Yeah, Nick Wayne is very young. Nick Wayne. I think Javon Evans is 20 years old. Like there are some guys who are super young. Look, there are people who were surprised when they find out that Ricky Starks is 34.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't look it. Good for him.
No. Penta. People couldn't believe it when I told them Penta's almost 40.
I mean, you can't really tell, but he doesn't move like he's 40.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you have the face paint on, it's like
How
Sting.
old does Dustin Rhodes look with the face paint? You can't tell.
Dustin. Maybe that's what Jeff Jarrett needs. He needs to start coming out with some face paint on. He'll shave 10 years off.
God forbid, man. Hook is he's hiring Barry Bloom, more than likely, in my opinion, staying with AEW. I think that's the best move for him. At least another couple of years before he's 30, and then make the jump to WWE when that current influx of talent moves on up to the main roster. It might be a little bit better off for him, but I do think eventually a move to WWE is in his future, but not right now. Tony Khan in the news. A couple of news and notes here from Tony Khan, and then we'll get to your super chats. There was a situation that happened on Thursday last week. Apparently, Tony Khan and Shane McMahon once again got brought into the rumors by my guy, Jonathan Coachman. I was on the Coach and Bro show filling in for Vince Russo as Jonathan Coachman invited me on the show, and it was revealed on that show. I had nothing to do with this rumor, by the way. This was all Coach. He said that Shane McMahon was ghosted by Tony Khan. Now, my guy, Andrew Baydala, was listening to the show and put out a tweet saying appropriately, today on the Coach and Bro show, the coach stated that Shane McMahon, during the meeting that he asked for with Tony Khan, Shane asked for equity in the company, meaning AEW, and Shane wanted to come in and run the entire show. Coach then stated Tony Khan ghosted Shane McMahon. Now, Fightful followed up and said they can't verify the request for equity. However, we heard a lot more about the meeting between the two sides, and they go on to say, according to a source close to Shane McMahon, Khan did not follow up with Shane. That source also claimed that they couldn't speak on the desire for equity, but that is seemingly looking like Shane did want to do exactly what was discussed by Coachman and run things. But that he didn't have the product knowledge or familiarity with the AEW product or their business model. That source close to McMahon also said that Shane didn't seem to take it personally, that Khan didn't follow up after that, and it seemed like Khan almost thought Shane was joking when he mentioned the possibility of running AEW. The source indicated that he believed that Shane viewed his insight and abilities to run a show as valuable after witnessing years of fans and people in the industry wanting anyone but Vince in that role. There was never an expanded plan for Shane McMahon to appear on AEW TV or be involved in the company. Those that we spoke to within AEW say that Tony had not spoken about it extensively outside of noting that the two sides simply met and are not working together. Now, they didn't rule out any cameo appearances in the future, but at this stage of the game, they're not going to do business together. You know, the pictures that went around, Jason, last year, there were two in particular. Wrestle Talk put out one, and it was the infamous photo with them in a meeting at an airport in Texas. I don't remember for what. It might have been a Dynamite show or pay-per-view. I don't remember which was the case, but that was the photo, number one. And number two, the Bucks took a picture with Shane McMahon at an airport going to, I believe, Utah. So those two pictures floated around on social media, and everybody was talking about, is he coming in? I was one of those people that kind of facilitated that talk. Is he coming in? Then we get the Death Riders thing, and Moxley wrote all these cryptic promos. This is not your company anymore, he tells Tony Schiavone. And I'm like, is he alluding to Shane McMahon coming on in after we saw these pictures? It never amounted to anything. And anything at this point would be better than what we're getting with the Death Riders right now. So I'm kind of sad that it didn't happen. But as far as Shane not working with AEW and Tony ghosting him, what I said on my end was, if someone came to me that didn't know anything about my company and physically said, I want to run the entire fucking thing. Can I run the entire thing? If I'm Tony Khan, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Get the fuck out of my office. I'm not talking to you, man. No, the answer is no. So good on Tony Khan for standing his ground, because, I mean, any human being would take that as a ridiculous comment. But at the same time, ghosting him. I've been ghosted by females before, man. It's not fun. I've been ghosted by people before. It's not fun. For him to ghost Shane McMahon and basically tell everybody that whatever Shane McMahon has, knowledge, anything to help me out, I don't want nothing to do with. No insight, nothing to do with. I just find that to be comical at that point. You mean to tell me you find nothing of value from Shane McMahon that you can't keep any decent rapport with? I mean, I just don't understand that coming from Tony Khan. What'd you think of this?
I thought that that's exactly what I would have done if I were in his shoes. I wouldn't have taken it seriously, and the conversation would have ended right there. So I think people are making a lot of the whole ghosted thing as if Shane said, "Hey, look, here's my offer. I need an answer from you," and then Tony just didn't get back to him. It sounds to me like they met at least once. They had a pleasant conversation. Remember, Shane put a statement out after that, and he said, "Well, we just had a conversation about what it's like, to be in the business and have family in the business, the challenges associated with that, and I wish them well in their future." I don't know how the conversation was left. It could just be that people are playing up this whole ghosted thing, more than maybe it should be played up. But like, you have Shane McMahon, and McMahon is coming to Tony Khan and saying, yeah, I'd like to come in and basically run the entire operation. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm thinking the same thing, like, get the fuck out of here, right? I'm going to give up control of my company to you. I'm going to give up control of my company to Shane McMahon. Like, that's never going to happen. I'm not convinced that Shane's offer was honestly serious. I don't think that Shane McMahon necessarily expected that Tony Khan was going to agree. I think he just kind of threw it out there. It could be a situation where he's like, all right, I'm going to shoot my shot. Let's see. If this guy's willing to do it, hey, this is what I want. If Tony would have agreed, I think Shane would have been over the moon and he would have accepted it. But I don't know that Shane necessarily expected that Tony was either going to get back to him or accept his offer. I don't know that it was put out there with any real seriousness behind it, because I keep coming back to this, and this, you too. Everybody was all excited about the possibility of Shane McMahon being brought into AEW. If he was going to be brought into AEW in an on-air capacity as like a character on the show, that's one thing. But that's not what people were talking about. People were talking about Tony needs help. He needs help creatively. And they've had a little streak of shows going the last few weeks, but obviously they've had their issues creatively for a while now. Well, it's better than nothing, right? It's better than the alternative. Just bring Shane in, right? It can't be any worse. And I'm like, where are people getting that Shane McMahon has this great track record when it comes to creative in wrestling? And I have people arguing with me like, Shane McMahon was born into this business, right? He was born into it. He was a referee and he had little odd jobs here and there, and he's been a part of it for so many years. Why wouldn't you want to tap into that knowledge? What I'm saying is we're talking about running the show, right? That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about running the show. No one has been able to articulate to me any kind of track record that Shane McMahon has had in a creative sense of running a wrestling show or running a wrestling company.
Outside Raw Underground, who the fuck wants that? That's all I know.
And what a great success that was, right? Yeah. So, but again, no one has been able to demonstrate to me. Am I missing something here? Like that?
No, you're not.
Everybody was talking about Shane could be the answer to their ills. Scott D'Amore got fired by TNA last year. If you told me, let's say he didn't have the non-compete, which he had, I think, for most of the year. Scott D'Amore is now a free agent. If Scott D'Amore was interested in being brought into AEW to assist on the creative end, and even still, if he was like, I want control over everything, I would say the same thing, like, calm the fuck down. But if he was interested in having a creative role in the company, that's a conversation that I would have, because he has a track record, right? He has a track record, and there are people that will vouch for him and say that he was He had all kinds of ideas and he's had some success. So you could point to that and say, he's somebody that we could benefit from having in our company and having in our stable. Where is the track record with Shane other than he's a McMahon? He was in the business for 40 years. So what? So what does that mean? And why would you give cede control, even if just creative on Dynamite, let's say? Like, why would you even entertain that idea if that's the sort of thing that he was interested in? Nobody has been able to tell me why he should have taken him up on that offer.
Well, my question to you is, I agree with you. I don't know why he would. I mean, there's no track record there at all. But the photos that went out, were they used in a way to gauge the audience on if this is a good idea or if this is a bad idea? Because obviously Shane McMahon and the McMahon name that comes with it in AEW means that they're moving very, very far away from their original mission statement. So was it put out there as like, hey guys, we're thinking about this and contemplating this. Let us know how you feel, without actually having us make an official announcement that we're in negotiation with Shane McMahon? And the overwhelming reaction was, get the fuck out of here. We don't want this guy or anything to do with the McMahon and AEW because it's not what we asked for. Is it a situation like that where they put it out there to gauge their audience?
I think so. I think to some extent to gauge the audience, but also to get people talking. Yeah. Right. It created a huge buzz. Right. Everybody was talking about the possibility of Shane coming in, and like you mentioned, the Death Riders and all the different ways that he could potentially be involved. I'm not saying that Shane McMahon doesn't bring something to the table, but for what we're talking about here, if that's what these conversations were about, it would be the equivalent of somebody applying for a job that and you are looking through resumes, right? You're looking for certain things on the resume, and this person worked for a very established firm for a very long time, and he was doing all sorts of jobs, but the job that he's interviewing for, like, there's nothing on this piece of paper that demonstrates to me that he has any experience, positive experience, doing what the nature of the job is. It's a big job, right? To do creative for AEW, and I don't know why people are surprised that Tony didn't respond. I mean, if people are upset that he didn't send him a nice text message to say thanks but no thanks, I mean, etiquette, I guess, but like, no, it doesn't surprise me. It's like I talked about the Paul Heyman thing on my podcast, where many years ago, a very similar situation where Paul Heyman was interested potentially in running TNA, and Dixie Carter met with him, and Paul said, well, if you want me to come in, this is what it's going to take. And Billy Corgan, I think, maybe was investing at that point in TNA. And so he spoke with Dixie, and Dixie said, look, this is what Heyman wants. And Billy is like, give it to him. She's like, yeah, but he wants to run my company. He goes, give it to him. Like, he'll turn your company around in 6 months. Like, the guy's a genius. Bring him in. Let him do whatever he wants. Heyman had this whole plan where he was going to let all the veterans go, keep Kurt Angle, but let all the other old guys go, build around youth and build around more of an MMA type of like, he had a vision for what he wanted to do. But Paul Heyman had a demonstrated track record of creative success. Not everything was a success, but creative success. Keep him away from the business end, maybe, right? Let Dixie keep running that, but like creatively, of course, someone like Paul Heyman absolutely could have benefited the TNA product back then, especially where they were at that point. That's not the situation we're talking about here, though.
Oh, but what happened there with Dixie? She said no?
She said no. She said, of course she said no.
Okay, so
she didn't want to give it up.
This is the same thing with Tony. He doesn't want to give it up. Look at what Vince did. He gave the reins to fucking Paul Heyman on Monday Night Raw. And what happened?
Wait a minute. Give me a fucking break. Hold on a second here. He gave him the reins of Monday Night Raw, please. And
he was the executive producer.
Okay, yeah, okay. Oh, he's the executive producer. Okay, yeah, that's his title maybe, but you know who was running the show, right?
Yes, we know who's running the show.
And he didn't last a year in the role either.
It didn't, because they don't want to relinquish power. Tony doesn't want anybody on his show getting the credit for what he has done the last 5 years.
Okay, but how is that any different than any other promoter? Like, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm saying, of course, he's not going to cede power. It's his baby. It's his company. He bankrolled this, right? He helped create this entire thing. He's probably been thinking about doing this his entire life since he was a little boy. And now you're expecting him to give that up to Shane McMahon of all people?
No. I agree with him not giving it up to Shane McMahon.
Okay.
But somebody, I would like to see someone take a good chunk of that responsibility, not Shane McMahon.
But it's not realistic. It's not going to happen because he doesn't see it. He doesn't see that there's enough of a problem there that would warrant that kind of drastic action. And he would point to some of their recent shows as evidence of that.
What type of problems do we need for something like that to be made? In your opinion?
I think that, well, I mean, it would
they got to be does the company have to be swallowed up in a fucking sinkhole somewhere?
No, it would take Warner Brothers Discovery going to him and saying, "Hey, we have some issues here. Numbers are down, or we don't like what we're seeing on the shows." If he felt pressure from his television partner because it's such an essential part of his business, then I could see him being, "Okay, we got to make some kind of change here." That would be about it.
They lost 700,000 viewers from the opening of Grand Slam to the main event. That's not a big enough reason.
They got $600 million from Warner Brothers Discovery. That's all he cares about.
I guess so. I don't know.
To him, it's proof of success that his formula is working. People don't always see his vision, but in his mind, like, it's working. Case in point, look at the last few weeks, right? Everyone's been raving about the quality of the show compared to how it was a month ago. So I'm sure in his mind, it's like, see, persistence pays off. These people don't know what they're talking about. I'm not saying I agree with that or that he wasn't the root of many of these problems. He absolutely is. And he will continue to be, I'm sure. But you can't expect that he or any of these people are going to be so quick to cede power. It's like, would you expect any different? Like who in their position, he's a billionaire, right? It's his company. He could do what he wants with it. Could you possibly envision being like, okay, yeah, you know what? You're right. Fans online are angry about this. They don't like the show. They think these ideas suck. These stories suck. I'll just give power to somebody else. I'll sign the checks. I'll step aside. I'll give up all my power and let somebody else run my baby the way they want it to. Most people are not going to do that. I wish some of these people would, because when there's problems, they need to be addressed. But it's unrealistic to expect that they are just going to simply step aside and let somebody else take over. Once you have that power, it's hard to give that up. We talked about this for years when it came to Vince. Somebody's got to get him out of that chair. He's actively sabotaging the product and doesn't realize it. Was he ever going to give it up if he wasn't kicked out the way he was?
No.
He'd be in that chair right now.
I know.
He was going to fucking die in that chair. Moxley said that in his book. He expected to come backstage one day and Vince would be keeled over in the gorilla position because nobody was going to take that away from him.
Not even The Rock couldn't take his soul away.
No. So, I mean, so again, as far as the Shane thing is concerned, I don't know that it was a serious offer. I'm sure that Shane realistically didn't expect that Tony would call him back up and be like, hey, you know what? Let's do it. I don't think he expected that. And I don't think that Shane McMahon would have been the cure to whatever ailed them. I think that he would benefit from bringing in, people that have other ideas and people who have had a demonstrated record of success. If he could find those people, maybe a Scott D'Amore could have been somebody like that. My idea was that for him to bring in Scott D'Amore, if he was willing to do it, and give him Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Not AEW. Give him the reins to Ring of Honor so that Tony can focus more of his time with AEW. Let 6 months or a year go by. Let's see what he could do with Ring of Honor. And if he could really make something more out of that brand, then maybe it's time to bring Scott over to help and kind of get his hands more involved with the AEW end. See, that to me would have been a smart plan. I don't know if D'Amore would have been interested in that. So
I don't think so. Maple Leaf and Ring of Honor, I would rather just run Maple Leaf, honestly.
Well, that's why he's running Maple Leaf. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying though, I don't think that conversation was ever had.
Listen, I'm still in the boat of I would have liked to see Shane in an authority GM type of role on AEW television. I don't even think Tony would go for that because even in kayfabe, he doesn't want anybody running the show when everybody realizes that's him running the show. He doesn't want someone on television, quote unquote, making the matches when we all know he's making the matches. So I would love to see it. I know it's not going to happen. It's in the past now, but Coachman brought it up on Thursday, so it was ran with, of course, with everybody online, but it was definitely a topical discussion. But there were a lot of topical discussions tonight, and believe it or not, we came in under the 3-hour mark, and we're about to get into your super chats. Look at that.
Nice.
Yeah, look at that. Appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for joining us here on episode 84 of Tuesday Night Titans. We had a strong close to 3,000 in here on this Tuesday night. We are 10 likes away from 1,000 likes. You guys can do that for me. I really appreciate it. Super chats will remain open. We're going to read through them right now. Go follow this man right here on YouTube and on X. Everything you need is linked in the description of this very video. If you guys are watching after the fact, please leave a comment. Helps us out in the algorithm, and we love being in the algorithm. Podcast has been doing great. We've been in the vicinity of 40 to 50,000 views with a 45-minute plus retention per viewer. Love it. And we got the Elimination Chamber on Saturday, and it's only going to get hotter and heavier here, man, with all the creative and all the directions going into WrestleMania. So we're excited about it. Let's start off with number one here. Who's the first one in the chat? Michael Krause with a $2 super chat. Good Tuesday, JD Jason, OTS. Yeah. Thank you, brother. Havili, the new membership. Thank you, Havili.
And we just hit 1,000.
There you go. 1026.
There it is.
Bader Mohammed. Hello. I've been following your reviews, JD, since that infamous 2015 Royal Rumble and the boring version of Roman Reigns. Thank you both for the great work. Thank you, Bader.
Thank you, man.
Havili with, it says new membership in now 2 months. I don't know why YouTube does that. But he says, what's up, fellas? Shout out from Brisbane, Australia. I lost my mom a couple of days ago. Anyways, I meant what would take for Triple H to get Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame. It's going to be up to Martha, brother.
Well, yeah. So first of all, my condolences. I'm sorry to hear that. As far as Owen in the Hall of Fame, I think people need to, they just need to give that up. You know, ultimately, his wife has made it very clear she wants nothing to do with that company. And that includes a Hall of Fame induction, you know, which they would profit from in some way. And even if they didn't profit from it, she just doesn't want to have anything to do with them, which is understandable. And I wish people would kind of accept it and leave it alone because it's just not going to happen.
Hi, Vili. Thank you, brother. Gabriel Boss, JD Solo, Bailey's winning the Elimination Chamber. It's quite obvious. WWE wants Rhea to beat the 3 horsewomen back-to-back-to-back WrestleManias. They gave us subtle hints since January. I am not interested in a Bailey versus Rhea match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't know what these subtle, they must have been so subtle I missed them. I don't know what these subtle hints were of a possible Bailey match for Rhea. Did you pick up on anything with these two?
I picked up on 0 of those. I would rather Bailey and Roxanne in an undercard match.
Well, that's what I figure it's going to be. Yeah, I mean, of all the people, and it's nothing against Bailey, it's just that of all the people that are kind of lined up as potential opponents for Rhea at WrestleMania, Bailey is not, she's not even in the top 3 for me.
King Mo Jackson with a $9.99. Mid-card titles and women's division should have been given to someone they book on the show every week. I would have chosen Bailey and Naomi, then put over a new star. I like the current champs, but no one cares. Well, we thought that with Becky and WrestleMania season that she'd be back by now. I mean, we still have 7 weeks. We could still see her back. And I thought, and Jason thought, that Becky versus Lyra was a possible direction. We don't really know. And then as far as Chelsea, I mean, I had reservations about giving her the title in the first place. Like, I understood it and I agreed with it because she worked her ass off to get the character over. But WWE's done nothing with that title on her. And I don't really know who on that roster on SmackDown is even a viable threat for that championship that even makes sense, that the fans care about. It's tough. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Zelina Vega got a video package on Friday. Yeah. They're trying to build her up as something to challenge. I don't see her winning it necessarily, but something like that is what I was talking about earlier. Like, if we start to see more of that, like video packages where we get to learn a little bit more about these women and they get the chance to speak and to emote and, you know, just get that FaceTime on camera, that's also something that I'd like to see more of, right? Yeah. That's something they should be doing more of.
Andy Suppers with a 15 months. Take Solo's Soul Rock. Cody, don't need your games. You want Rock to take Solo Sikoa's soul. Or you're talking about this Solo? Whose soul are you talking about?
Talking about my soul? You want The Rock to take my soul? If he's making the offer, he wants to make my dreams come true. I mean, hey, we can have that conversation.
Thank you, Andy Michelle with a 2. What about Orton as the Rock's champion? We did discuss that. We did. WrestleMess with a $4.99. Think about it. If Sonny Corleone had Easy Pass, would he still be alive? I don't know, would he?
It's a good question. He might.
I'm barely alive when I have Easy Pass. It's still fucking bumper to bumper traffic, even with Easy Pass and no tolls. It's disgusting. Black Wolf Inc. with 21 months and a $5 super chat times 2. Good evening, gentlemen. My 34th birthday is this week, and the next year looks to be my year of reinventing myself. Proud to be a fan as always. I believe very strongly that Cody will be in a fatal 4-way match with Punk, Reigns, and Rollins, and The Rock will help Punk win and turn him heel. Coming soon, the XWF by Vince McMahon. It's good shit, pal. Watch it or else you're fired. No, on Vince. Happy birthday, brother, as well. And no fatal 4-way. I do not want to see a multi-man world championship match at WrestleMania. No way.
It was actually already an XWF many years ago. And Hogan was in it.
How long ago was that? 80s? 90s?
No. It was early 2000s. I think it was right after WCW died. It was very brief. They were trying something. I know there was a Hulk Hogan Kurt Hennig match. It didn't last very long.
We got Fikrit Gassim. What if Cody declines The Rock's offer? Then The Rock enters himself into the chamber and uses the Bloodline to wreak havoc and win, going on to main event WrestleMania versus Cody. Why would he enter the chamber when The Rock can just put himself in the main event?
Yeah. I mean, he's made it very clear he's the boss. He can do whatever he wants.
That's a possibility. I mean, I think we summed up all the possibilities very well here tonight. Jeff with a $50 super chat. Thank you, Jeff. Drinks on me to 2 of the best in the IWC. Not in a great mood. After having to discuss the passing of my parents again back to back, dad in 21 and then mom in 22, with the accountant doing our taxes, listening to the show tonight is exactly what I needed. Jeff, thank you very much, brother. I know for some reason a lot of loss lately via the super chats. I know we just had Havili, we have Jeff, and OTS Tribal Queen in the chat last night said she just lost her father. I'm sorry, guys. That's terrible. I don't know what that feels like. I still have both of my parents. I don't know what to say. It's a lot of sadness lately. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like hearing shit like that. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Easy. 25 months. TNT, I truly believe The Rock was only sent to SmackDown because WWE heard that everyone was saying about how boring WrestleMania season has been so far. Now, The Rock was not sent to SmackDown because of how boring WrestleMania season was. Whatever was planned for The Rock was planned for The Rock. That's what I truly believe. I honestly think they moved the chamber back to appease The Rock.
Well, I mean, you mean they moved the Rumble back too? Because the Rumble was on February 1st.
Well, I mean, the Rumble, they gave us the reason of they didn't want it to be on the weekend of the NFC and AFC championship games, and then obviously it falls in between that and the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No, but I do believe, I mean, the chamber usually takes place in the middle of February, no?
No, middle or late.
Yeah.
I just think it's the way the schedule fell. You know, they didn't want to have both shows in the same month. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't read too much into that. I think the last time we saw Rock on NXT, when he told that, one person in the crowd, shut your face and, let The Rock take you on a ride, or whatever it was that he said. Probably had a pretty good sense there of where he was going with things.
Yeah. Well, he did say on Friday, as he turned more times than Big Show, he went from babyface to heel and then told someone he'd smack the syphilis off their lips.
Very sexual in the promo. Cody came into the ring. He gave him a hug. He gave him a kiss.
Yeah.
Talked about a lot of weird things in that. There's a lot of weird undertones in that promo.
Eric George with a $4.99. I think CM Punk sells his soul to The Rock and becomes The Rock's corporate champ. His deep desire and desperation to main event WrestleMania. Yeah? Yeah. I could see it.
Well, he said he's there to make money, not there to make friends. Right? He said that his first night in.
Yes, he did. Ali with a 5. JD, you know what's so funny on your stream that you did back in 21 or 22 when the announcer called Summer Rae a WWE legend. Now, that was funny. I wouldn't necessarily call her a WWE legend, Ali.
She's a WWE superstar and probably future Hall of Famer.
Yes. David M., thank you for the $100 earlier, brother. Appreciate you very, very much. Sidro with a $5 super chat. There was a Roman emperor who never aged after he turned 19. His name was Constantine. Oh, man. That was a good one, man. That was a good one, Sidro. He also says, what do you call a pig playing tug of war? Pulled pork.
That is what you would call it. I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I like Constantine better.
Yes.
That was a good one, man. Also, Sidro, $2 super chat. Why do horses look so fit? They're on a stable diet. Okay. All right. That was better than the pulled pork one. Constantine is the one to beat, though. Robert Lameau with a $10 super chat. I agree with you that Kevin Owens is right, but then again, he attacked Randy Orton, hitting him with a pile driver, and he did the same things to Sammy because he did not help him win. So in this case, he's wrong. Is he? Is he wrong about Cody? I don't think he's wrong about Cody. Everybody's making a mention that Cody and the WWE Championship is now a burden on Cody Rhodes. I think Kevin Owens is still right.
Seth Rollins said last night, if the title's a burden on you, it won't be on me.
No. Is that
you
because,
can't handle
is
it.
that because he wants what The Rock is offering?
No, I think it's because he wants what Cody has. Doesn't mean that he's going to take The Rock up on his offer.
I hope that's not the case, because then it's going to make everything last year look fucking like a waste of time. Why would they do that?
And we've already seen it before.
Yeah. Mr. Noob with 8 months. I'd love to see a women-only show, possibly a short-run special that runs a month or two, bring back the Mae Young Classic, and include NXT in the main roster. Well, we already have the Queen of the Ring, so they're not going to bring back the Mae Young Classic. Maybe for NXT. I like
you
to
want
see
an all. I mean, you want an all-women show. The closest that you're going to get, just watch NXT.
Yeah.
I mean, they're featured pretty much up and down the card every single week.
Arrangements with a $4.99. Drew called out Cena today on X for the chamber match, which could mean we are getting Cena versus McIntyre at Mania and Punk versus Cody. Listen, McIntyre needs something big. We talked about that here for a few weeks. Cena and McIntyre would be that big match. I don't see them pulling the trigger on that, though. I don't know. We'll see. Dom Wapo, 20 months. If The Rock takes Cody, Soul, where would he keep all his adrenaline? LOL, TNT is the best part of my Tuesdays. Love the show. Keep up the amazing work. That's a good question. If he takes his Soul, where is his adrenaline?
I don't know. He'll have to buy a pouch or something and just kind of zip it up and lock it in there, I guess. I don't know. He's got a lot of that adrenaline.
Maybe it'll be in that bottle of Wheatley's vodka he's drinking. Phantom 67, 18 months. Really looking forward to Sammy versus Kevin at the Elimination Chamber. JD, solo, cheers. Enjoying at Russell's 10. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Sidro, $2 super chat. He says, Road Dogg needs to pack up and hit the road, dog. He's only been 1 week in there, man. Let's give him at least 4 weeks. I don't know how much worse it could get after Friday. Justin Toner with the $10 super chat. Hey, guys, great show tonight. On NXT tonight, they confirmed Julia versus Stephanie, title versus title, and Oba versus Moose, NXT title. Fraxian versus the Hardys, TNA Tag Team titles are official at Roadblock in 2 weeks. Oh, boy. Sounds like a big show. But Stephanie and Julia and Oba versus Moose at Stand and Deliver. May have to. Well, there's not going to be any time to review that show right after it's over because it's going to be over right before WrestleMania starts. But I'm excited about it. That's good.
Well, he's talking about Roadblock.
All of these matches are for Roadblock. All of these matches are for Roadblock? I can't see Moose and Oba for Roadblock?
I wasn't going to say anything because I think there's an angle they shot that's going to air next week on TNA.
Yeah.
But yes, that match is confirmed for the theater at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, boy.
On March 11th.
Oh, man. It's going to be a big night.
They're loading that show up.
David Thiering with a $5 super chat. Any chances we get The Rock's I Want Your Soul as a new super chat on your channel, Solid Monster? Great show, fellas, as always. Cheers.
Oh, from tonight? Oh, it's possible. I said I want JD's soul.
I'm surprised the I Want Your Soul hasn't made it into your super chat. Just his quote from Friday. I want your soul.
Well, I included it in the intro to my show. If you listen to my show, it's in the opening 30-second song now. Very short, very brief. It says, I want your soul. So I worked it in there.
Thank you, David, as always. Arrangements with the 199. Tony fumble chance on NXT during Ricky Saints match. Yes, I heard. I'll go back and watch it later.
I got to listen to this music. I mean, how bad was the music? I'm a little concerned about Ricky's music and what kind of music he got.
That's a good question. What type of theme music did he have?
Yeah.
Based Beerus, $2 super chat. Cody will end up holding Rock's title. His champ.
He doesn't need his title. He's got his own title.
Yeah.
What does he need the Brahma Bull belt for?
It's a nice looking title.
It is, but I mean, it's not the WWE title. I wish they would have kept the Winged Eagle belt.
Me too.
I'm sure Cody wishes that too. He was the one who argued for it in the first place. Kevin Owens held it longer than he did.
Apex with the 199. Liv can eat the pin for EO or Rhea at Mania. I don't want Liv and Rhea in the same ring again. I'm over it.
I mean, how many titles do you want to put on Liv? She just won a title. She doesn't need to be a part of this match. She's already the Crown Jewel champion.
People saying Ricky's music was mid. Role model type intro to the song, says TK Banks. Oh, great.
Probably something with Revolution. Right, the Revolution is here.
Televised.
Yeah.
Horatio with a 5 in Super Chat. Do we still think Rock is a good promo? There was no sophistication in his offer to Cody. You can always tell he's trying to think of what to say. No, I think he just gets so long-winded in what he wants to say. He never gets to the point. Takes too long to get there. I think if he shortened what he had to say, it'd be a little bit more dynamic. But I think he was going for the vibe that we got on Friday. He wanted it to come off that way. I think that was planned from the beginning. Like Jason said and I said, it just took too fucking long to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Havili with a $10 super chat. Was SummerSlam triple threat match in 2012 supposed to be a tag team match with The Rock? I know everything between them is cool, but what was the heat between Mickey and Victoria? Cheers, guys.
No. Rock, he's at 2012?
Yeah.
No, Rock was never going to be on the SummerSlam card. What was the other one? The heat between
What was the heat between Mickey, James, and Victoria?
I don't recall if there was heat between them. There heat between them?
It's new to me. Figured you know
offhand.
More. Havili with a $2 super chat. Favorite theme song: American Badass or Rollin' by Limp Bizkit? I was a big fan of Rollin' by Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, I like Rollin' too. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go Limp Bizkit.
Base Beers with a 2. Bigger disappointment: Kofi 9 Seconds or Fiend Goldberg? Fiend
Goldberg.
yeah, absolutely. Fiend Goldberg. Or Goldberg, who apparently is getting stem cell treatment and will be wrestling his final match this summer. Michelle with a 2.
So you're telling me Goldberg will not be haunting WrestleMania this year?
No, thankfully not.
Okay.
Michelle with a 2. What does Seth do at WrestleMania if not Roman or Punk? It's a good question. I guess we'll find out on Saturday. But I do think he ends up with Roman. Base Beerus, $2 super chat. Cody was not selected like Roman and Cena. That is true. That is true. He's his own man. He's self-made. Also, base beers for the two. I would rather Cena wear a toupee rather than his bald spot. That's going to be a little difficult to do, but...
Well, maybe he can get that fade, right? That's what I always... Like, when I think of John Cena back in the day, he had that fade. I'm assuming he keeps it this way because of the movie roles.
Yeah.
But if he wanted, he could just get that fade again.
Jason Barker, 30 months. 30 months. Please send some prayers. My dog is 16, hasn't pooped in 3 days, threw up earlier, and has dementia. I fear that I have to put him to sleep. Jason, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. That's exactly what Bacardi went through. She didn't go to the litter box in 3 days, and then that's when I knew something was wrong. I immediately took her to the vet, and then that's when I got the bad news. If you have the opportunity, take your dog to the vet, see what's going on, and get some official confirmation there, just to give it a little bit of a solid answer behind that. I hope that's not the case. I'm sorry to hear that. King Mo with a 199. I want Jade and Bianca in a freaky threesome. Thank you, King Mo. Thank you. No gooning on this channel, okay? Only for Stephanie
I think
Becker.
he means triple threat, I believe is what he means.
Okay. My mind is in the gutter then.
Yes.
Major with a 499. Just tuning in fresh from a banger episode of NXT. Soon we get Moose versus Oba and Vaquer versus Julia. Title versus title. Sign me the fuck up. Absolutely. Julia just celebrated her birthday with Stephanie. Happy birthday to Julia.
I think, aren't they roommates? I think they might live together.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. They're very good friends. And I think also, who's else? Someone else was in that picture with them.
It was, what's her name? I forgot her fucking name. She was on Hog shows, too. It was,
Yes.
Who was it?
Called her match.
Yes, we did. I feel so stupid for not remembering. She's retiring this year, too. Who the fuck is it, man? It's Anthony. You'll get it.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah. Lauren with a 2 and a 34 months. TNT, best podcast in the IWC Elimination Chamber predictions. We went over them tonight, Lauren. I see Randy Orton returning on Saturday. He'll target Kevin Owens. Cody's heel turn imminent. No. I definitely see Punk winning the Chamber. I'm going with Punk. Jason's going with Cena.
Sumi Sakai.
Yes. Sumi Sakai.
I had Mako Satomura on the brain, but I knew it wasn't her.
Yeah.
But it's Sumi Sakai.
Hitman 600. Thank you for the membership, brother. Vincent Tarantini, 33 months. Tony fumbled. Ricky is awesome, and so are you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ali with a 2. JD, what do you think is next for Finn Balor? Exile from the Judgment Day. That's what's next.
More pins.
Yes. Good old Finn Balor.
Finn Balor, the eater of pins.
Let's see what we got here. We got Adam Khan. $10 super chat. What makes a good show? What makes a good wrestler? What makes a good match? Just asking. Thank you. These are very well thought out questions, Adam. What makes a good wrestler? I don't know. Good look. Gotta look the part. Good promo. Decent in ring ability. I would rather a great storyteller than some fucking 18-star wrestler. That's just me. What makes a good match? The story. The story coming into it. How you take that story coming out of it, maybe, leading to another story. It's all revolving around the story, honestly. What makes a good show, Jason? Banger match?
Well, I was going to say also just on the wrestler thing, somebody who can make you believe in what they're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever their role is, whether it's a babyface, a heel, comedy wrestler, something more serious. If they can make you believe, then they're doing their job well. I think what makes a good show, it's subjective. I mean, everybody has their own ideas for what makes a good show. Some people like wrestling, and they don't like the sports entertainment side of it. Some people don't like the banger matches. It's not even about the in-ring for them. It's about the characters and the personalities. So it's going to be different for everybody. For me personally, I like a good mix of the two. I don't want to be overloaded on just matches because that just gets boring. But I also don't want there to be too much in the way of just talking and promos or comedy skits. Give me a good mix of the two, and I'm good. To me, that keeps my interest. Then that's what I consider to be a good show.
Someone who's a very good example of that is our current HOG World Champion, Mike Santana. He's got a great look. I think he's the total package. Great in ring, banger matches, great promo. He's got it all.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Owens, 23 months, celebrating my 46th birthday, listening to my favorite show in the IWC, and as of right now, I'm looking forward to Revolution more so than the Elimination Chamber. Happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday, my friend. Here's to another 46.
Yeah.
So that would put him at what? 93?
Yeah.
Something like that? 92?
I mean, Revolution is shaping up to be a banger show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to both of them.
Yeah. Base beer.
But I mean, I was just going to say, as far as like the card on paper, though,
yeah.
Revolution is, it's shaping up to be a much stronger show.
Base Beer says with a 4. Is Shane resentful because he isn't running WWE? And 1K likes. Let's be the booker. Is Shane resentful? He isn't running WWE? I mean, I'm sure Shane wants to be in the business in some way. I do.
Yeah, but you don't think that there was a point where Shane thought that he was the heir apparent, and that the fact that he isn't,
yes,
and that of all people his brother-in-law doesn't bother him on some level?
Maybe that's why he asked Tony. See what he said?
That's why Tony ghosted him. Like, that's your problem.
Don't bring your family bullshit to me. I don't give a fuck.
You need a therapist. You don't need me. It has to on some level. Gotta just gnaw away at him. Like, that should have been me.
Triple H is running the company. Shane is not. I'm sure it does bother him. Fixes a bond with a $10 super chat. When Vince starts his new wrestling company, he should offer Janelle Grant the job as a sign of good faith. No. No wrestling company, and no on all accounts. Major with a $4.99. The women's division we see now on the main roster is the result of the trash NXT 2.0 era. That's all because Vince went down there and fucked it up. I don't think that's a fair assessment, Major. The women's division, because the main roster and its problems are a result of NXT 2.0? I don't think so. No. Jason says no.
Yeah, I would. I'm not even gonna add to that because I just don't. I don't put any stock in that.
Furious Nation with a $4.99 times 2. He says, "What's up, JD and Solomon? It's a great TNT tonight as well as NXT. Very nice seeing the Hardys tonight, and Ricky Saints showed Tony fumbled. After seeing NXT tonight with Sol Ruka, Zarya versus Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, set for next week's NXT. Thoughts of Sol versus Green for the United States Women's Championship." If they want to call Sol Ruka up, I'm not going to say no, but Sol Ruka and Zarya against Chelsea and Piper Niven, we could see some new challenges for those tag team titles potentially. Who knows?
I think if they do that and Sol gets a U.S. title match, that's only going to make those main roster women who we were talking about earlier feel even more frustrated.
Yeah.
Especially if they're on the main roster.
Main roster.
I don't know where that came from. It's
Tone
like Goldberg.
Yeah. Tone C with 24 months recently got Max to join the Sickos. They have great shows. Are either of you guys fans of Curb Your Enthusiasm? OTS for life.
Of course. One of my favorites.
I watched a season and then I did not after that.
Well, you don't have good taste, so.
What are you talking about? I love Seinfeld.
Then I don't understand how you could like Seinfeld and not like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I don't know.
With Curb Your Enthusiasm, the network handcuffs are off.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get back to it.
You need to watch The Doll. Find that episode, and I dare you not to laugh.
The Doll. Okay.
It's called The Doll.
All
it's
right.
got forgot all the stars that were in the episode, but when you when you see it, you'll know. I'm pretty sure it was from season 1, maybe season 2. But yeah, go find that episode.
Adam Kahn with a $2 super chat. A man walks into a bar and says, "Ow." Okay. Thank you, Adam. Furious Nation, $4.99. He says, also, man, did Ricky Saints look good tonight? Hopefully Phoenix, Wardlow, Camille, Jamie Hayter, and Britt Baker are next to jump over. Man, you guys are jumping the gun big time. Got a couple of years waiting there. Where Camille is, I don't know. Phoenix, Wardlow, Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker. Can't take everybody, guys. Clone Force with the $4.99. Four-way WrestleMania. Roman, Cody, Punk, Drew. And same way how it was in 2016 when Triple H helped KO and turned on Seth is the same way Rock will help Drew turn on Roman.
I really don't like the idea of a 4-way at WrestleMania.
Me neither.
I mean, that was a great 4-way match on Raw. I remember that.
Yep.
I remember when the crowd reacted when Triple H turned around and pedigreed Rollins. Everybody lost their minds. And you remember the only reason we got that match?
Boy.
Balor got hurt.
That's right.
They had to strip him, and fucking Big Bill was in that match.
That's right.
But that was great. But yeah, as a WrestleMania main event, I don't want to see a 4-way.
Neither do I. Baze Beerus with a $2 super chat. The Beast Mortos. I want your soul. Tony Atlas. Soul spelled S-O-L-E. Want your soul. Georgie with a $4.99. Duckies still drowning. Help. Oh no. Tony Khan sucks. Triple H. Low blow on Nikki Cross. Solid Monster. Help. No, I want soul. Victoria. RKO. Pin her. No AEW. I don't know.
What is going on here?
I don't know. This comment was all over the fucking place. Georgie, are you all right, brother?
Okay, so Ricardo corrected me. I'm surprised by this. He has the doll. It was season 7.
Oh, see, I didn't make it that far.
Episode 17. Are you sure season 7 was that? Okay, maybe it was that deep into the show. Okay, I thought it was season 1 or 2. Apparently it was season 7.
Yeah, I didn't get that far. I got to go deep into the whole history of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a story where the way it comes together, of course, is just ludicrous, as all of these episodes are. But yeah, it involves a doll. You know his friend Jeff on the show. Jeff Garland plays him. He's like his agent.
Okay.
Okay, so no, you don't know who that is.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay. Well, when you got to watch the show.
This was a while ago. I watched season 1. I don't remember anything.
Yeah, no, you need to start from the beginning and try again.
Clone Force with a $4.99. That would be a great story. After all the shit Roman fuck over Drew, he gets his revenge by The Rock helping him and turning on Roman. Man, you guys are with this fucking Drew McIntyre narrative, huh? I could see it. Anything is possible. JD Ultra with a $4.99. Do you guys think Becky will be back before Mania? I'm going to be on the Raw at Madison Square Garden on March 10th. Look for me on the 3R road, he says. I don't know. You know, honestly, I can't even give you an answer. I think I'm really 50-50 on it. Will she be back before Mania? I think so.
Before Mania, I'm going to say no.
Okay. I don't know what she does at Mania if she comes back, but you may be right.
That could be a case where she comes back immediately after.
Yeah.
It just feels very late in the process.
Yeah.
It's not too late, but it feels very late for her to just suddenly be. I don't know what her spot would be if not a match with Lyra, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't in the Rumble, so I think you may be right on that.
Yeah,
if she was back already, she'd be in the Rumble.
I don't know where else you plug her in if not a match with Lyra.
King Mo with a $1.99. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Alex with a $5 super chat. Brother JD and Solo, what is the absolute worst possible outcome at the Elimination Chamber that can completely ruin the hype and build for WrestleMania 41? Logan Paul winning.
Pretty much, yeah.
That would be it. Clone Force with a $1.99. What about for night 1? Seth, Punk, Drew, Cena. What is with you guys in a fatal 4-way, man?
No, I think he's saying 2 singles matches. Is that what he's saying?
I don't know. He didn't really say. He just puts Seth Punk, Drew Cena.
I'm assuming he means two individual matches.
Sure. I mean, Drew Cena, I'd accept. Punk and Seth was my original prediction for sure. But I want something to be blown up in a good way.
Is the idea, though, he didn't say, but I mean, is the idea there that, let's say, Punk would win the Chamber and he would have that title shot banked on night 2, but the issue with Seth is still there, and so they wrestle on night 1? And if so, is the title shot on the line? I don't know why Punk would put the title shot on the line, but like, they could have a match. It doesn't have to be for anything. They could have a match on night 1. Seth could beat him to get his win back from the Netflix premiere. Punk goes on to win the title, and now Rollins has a case to make about, hey, it's like Owen beating Brett at WrestleMania 10, and then that night Brett wins the championship. Yeah. So I mean, maybe that could work. I don't know where The Rock fits into all that.
I want something blown up to a point where it makes sense, but it really just gets us to the edge of our seat. Unpredictable. I want some chaos, some organized chaos. Base Beerus with a 4. Looking forward to any Dark Side of the Ring episodes. And he says, can you rank the top 5 women in WWE by star power? I don't really know what the episodes are this season.
I don't have them in front of me. I rattled them off on the show a few weeks ago. I know Vader is one.
Ooh.
So I am looking forward to that one. There's one that I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to it, but I mean, it's a topic that I've been suggesting for a few years. It's going to be very sad, which is an episode on Daphne. And I think Eddie Gilbert is another one. Yeah, I don't have them in front of me. There's a bunch of other ones. I'll say Vader. As far as ranking the women by star power, I mean, how could Rhea not be number 1?
Right now, Rhea's number 1, yeah.
Yeah, Rhea's up there. Liv Morgan is up there. Tiffany's up there. Io?
You don't put Bianca above those ladies?
No.
Huh?
She's been phased down for a while, honestly. I mean, we're talking like popularity at the moment. I think Rhea, whatever combination you want to rank them, I feel like Rhea, Liv, and Tiffany have to be top 3. You could put Bianca at 4 and Io at 5, maybe.
That's a good 5.
Yeah.
It's a good 5. King Mo with a 199. Who are you guys' favorite Muppet? JD and Solo.
JD is my favorite Muppet.
My favorite Muppet?
It's Muppet Monet, right? Muppet Mercedes.
Oh, is that who it is? Is Oscar the Grouch? No, is he Muppet? No. Right?
No, he's not.
I don't know, man. What the fuck? Why would I know the Muppets?
I'm going with. I know she's
Gonzo.
Gonzo is one.
Okay.
I'm gonna make Harley Cameron's puppet of Mercedes. I'm gonna make her a Muppet, and I'll go with her.
Oh my God, you guys are crazy, man. I am all out of super chats. That's it. TNT episode 84 is in the books. We talked about Cody Soul and who's going to be the next corporate champion, and The Rock and his bizarre promo. Thank you guys for a great discussion tonight. Excellent show. Make sure you guys do what you got to do as far as likes and comments and all that good shit, man. You guys know the deal. As I always do every episode, I'm going to leave this guy to sound us off. What do you got, man?
I don't got a whole lot other than to say, kind of reiterate what you said before. I'm looking forward to Elimination Chamber, and I know we're both going to be covering it this weekend on our respective platforms. The Rumble started at 6 Eastern, I believe. This is 7.
Yes.
So just be aware of that. Sometimes they change the time so often. Sometimes people get confused. So it's a 7 Eastern start on Saturday. You can find his live review here on this channel. I'll have mine on my channel. And at that point, all this chatter, we've spent so much time here tonight talking about what may or may not happen going into WrestleMania. Once we get past this show on Saturday, things will become a hell of a lot clearer. And that'll give us a better picture of what we can expect. But I think if you've been underwhelmed by the WrestleMania build, you have a good reason to feel that way. I do hope, and I do feel like coming out of this weekend, that will start to change.
I absolutely agree. I'm very excited about it. And if you guys want to catch us, you know where to find me. Catch him in the description is everything you need to go find the monster on YouTube and on Twitter. Thank you guys very much for all of your support. We got one more. Who did we miss? Buddha. I'm sorry, Buddha. $9.99. I wish The Rock wouldn't promote so much. It takes me out of the story I'm trying to invest in. I want him to be the unfair final boss, but then he throws in a movie ad or thanks the crowd or something. Yeah, he's definitely dipping in between characters for sure. Yep. He did. He did. I just want the Rock that smeared Cody's blood on the Mama Rhodes weight belt. That's what I want. Look at you now. Georgie, hey JD, can you call me a good? A good what? Georgie, please. Georgie, please, man. And Base Beers with a $2 super chat. Lesnar will be back. I don't care for Lesnar, honestly. Guys, thank you very much, man. We will see you next week on episode 85, post-chamber discussion right here on TNT. I'll see you guys later.